anxiety. Okay. Look. You got me thinking if it was really worth it, putting in all of this effort just to end up less than perfect. But are not great defenses something used for our protection? Or are they just another way to force out imperfections? I guess I'm just defective, pointed in the wrong direction. The library in my head is one fucked up selection. Now children pay attention and you'll receive attention, cause after this I'll ask you an array of questions. Alright, hey guys, hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. This is episode 45. I'm remembering now. I'm getting it. But, hey, 45, fuck, dude. We're almost to, like, episode 50. It's kind of unreal that I've been able to do this so consistently, especially for this long. I mean, I've missed a few weeks here and there, but... Well, actually, no, I haven't. It's only been a couple of times. And then one of those weeks, we took a break before I started the unofficial kind of season 2 marker, which would be for episodes 28 and onward. And at episode, it'd be 56? If we did, no, it'd be 54, because episode 27 was the last episode for season 1. So at episode 54, it'll be another season cut. And then we'll take a week off and do a season 3. But that's still a while from now. We still got a good few more recordings before we even get to that point. But hey guys, welcome. Thank you for coming back if you are a regular listener. And if you're new here, well, thank you for giving me a shot. If you don't know, my name is HiK-Upp. And I talk about nerd shit like anime, manga, video games, music, sprinkle it in every now and then. Other nerd culture topics, maybe even sometimes movies if I get the chance. I'm not a huge movie buff, but I do have opinions, so that's what I tend to do. Sometimes I give bits of news as well. I'm not like very anime news-like, but I try to bring in updates of stuff I'm interested in, whether it be anime or games or music or any of that. So, yeah, we do that here too, but mainly it's just an opinionative, kind of like talking, sometimes, a lot of the times, ranting about certain things. So hopefully you enjoy that. This week, if you saw the title, you already know that we are talking about Jump Force. I've talked about Jump Force a couple of times on the podcast. I did an episode way back, like some point during season 1 episode, so less than 27 back, probably like even before episode 20, but I did a whole episode talking about anime video games and why some of them I feel are successful, why some of them kind of like fall off really quick, etc. And I talked about Jump Force a bit on there because I think Jump Force had recently come out around then or been out for a good minute. Jump Force is not good, in my opinion. Spoiler alert, but Jump Force is not a good game. And I've talked about it here and there. Sometimes I've even like stopped and ranted about it for like 10 minutes. But I want to give a little more detail as to what exactly are the things and aspects and qualities of Jump Force I don't like. Some of the few things that I do like, and what I feel they could do to improve the game. Because I recently played it again. I reinstalled it just because I was like, okay, let me check it to see if they've done any like drastic improvements that I think would merit buying the game. Couldn't play longer than like 30 minutes. I was completely over it after that. I still think it's not up to par. It's definitely not worth $60. It's not. It's just not. Even if, because I think, does the Switch version that's coming out gonna come base game plus Character Pass 1 for $60, and then you have to buy Character Pass 2? Or do you still have to buy Character Pass 1 separately? Because if you still have to buy Character Pass 1 separately, and Jump Force on the Switch is like $50 or $60, it is not fucking worth it. Jump Force on the Switch should be $30, including Character Pass 1. Maybe $40 or $50, including Character Pass 1. But you should not have to pay an extra charge for that first season pass because it's not worth it. So I'll talk about that. Talk about the few things I liked, everything I don't like about the game, and things I feel like at this point they need to do to at least end off with a well-rounded experience, sort of, in a way. You'll get what I'm saying when we get there. But we're also going to do the Yu Yu Retrospective. I don't think this review is going to be nearly as long as my Final Fantasy VII Remake review. That one was like a big experience for me and a big event, and that game is fucking fantastic, so I had a lot more to say. With Jump Force, I do have a lot to say, but it's a lot more straightforward. So we're just going to go ahead and hop right into that. But, well, not hop right into that, but we're going to hop right into it. One bit of quick news I wanted to bring up. This should be very well-known information by the time this goes up on Friday. But Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 are getting a remaster for the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and the PC. Not the Switch. I don't know why not the Switch. Because I feel like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, they said it was a remaster. So it's not like it's rebuilt from the ground up with like these fucking amazing Unreal Engine 5 texture graphics. Or Unreal Engine 4. Is it Unreal Engine 5 now, or Unreal Engine 4 for that tech demo they showed on the little Summer Playfest thing that also came out today as of this recording on the 13th. But it's just a remaster, so it's gonna look good. They're gonna touch it up, of course, and from what we saw, like, it's gonna look good. But I don't see why they can't make a Switch port of it. Maybe later down the road they will. But I feel like this is like, games like this are like the perfect titles to put on the Switch. Who wouldn't want to play Tony Hawk on the go, dude? Especially me, like when I was growing up, the first console I ever officially owned, because when I was talking about the FF7 Remake review, I got my PlayStation from my aunt. It was like kind of like a hand-me-down birthday gift kind of thing. And that had Final Fantasy VII with it, so I was obsessed with that. But the first console I ever like owned that was bought specifically for me, fresh out the box, was a Dreamcast. Maybe a Game Boy Color, but like console was a Dreamcast. And I fucking love the Dreamcast. Gone too soon. Oh my god, Dreamcast is great. It's forever a classic. And one of the games I had on my Dreamcast was Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And Tony Hawk Pro Skater is like a childhood treasure of a game for me, because it was so good. It was so fucking good. Ridiculous fun. For people who didn't grow up with Tony Hawk Pro Skater and played Skate, it is not... The thing that was so appealing about Skate and why Skate was so successful as a series was because Skate was a much more realistic skateboarding simulator kind of game, where like the controls were a lot more intuitive and chic and unique. Like you felt like you were doing a kickflip when you put in those inputs to do a kickflip or a trick or whatever, going down the ramp. It's a lot more technical. Like you have to be very skillful to really do some cool, crazy shit in Skate. Like, you have to be really skillful to do some crazy shit in Skate. In Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you could just press buttons and you would do crazy shit. But that was the beauty of it. It was like, dude, it's a video game. Back in the day when video games were just video games. So you could just press a bunch of buttons and you would do like a bunch of tricks to get 30,000 points. You'd be like, oh! But if you actually knew which buttons did what and knew the tricks and knew how like the score multipliers would decay if you abuse certain tricks and what you could do and what you couldn't do, this and that, you could actually do some wicked technical stuff on Pro Skater as well. But Pro Skater is definitely more button mashy, I would say, than Skate. But the appeal of Pro Skater was how ridiculous it was, and that's why people loved it so much. So it sucks that the more Tony Hawk Pro Skater games we saw over the years, the more their quality decayed. Like, Pro Skater 1, 2, 3, 4, I say were pretty solid. Underground 1 and 2, I like Underground 2 more than 1, but I have more personal memories attached to Underground 2. But both of those were good. I liked American Wasteland, and then I kind of fell off after that. Like, I didn't play any more Tony Hawk games after that, and I feel like that's when a lot of them started to really really suck. It wasn't even just like, yeah, you could like this one, I get. Like, they were all just bad. And who could forget the failure that was Pro Skater 5? Everyone was let down by Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. They brought our hopes up so much for that game, and it fucking bombed. So, I think it's good on them to just say, hey, let's just go ahead and bring back the classic, the games that worked. So they're doing the remasters of 1 and 2. I'm more excited for 1 just because I have a lot more memories attached to Pro Skater 1 than any other Tony Hawk games. Like, my favorite games that are most memorable to me are probably Pro Skater 1, Underground 2, and American Wasteland. And, or is it American Skateland? I feel like that one makes more sense. But you know what game I'm talking about. Like, I'm more attached to those games than any of them. So but it's both 1 and 2 in a remastered pack. It comes out September 4th of this year. So we got a couple of more months. It's going to come out in the fall. So, and it's like, who wasn't a Tony Hawk fan, bro? Pro Skater fan growing up. Everyone was. Everyone loved that game. Boys, girls. This also, hopefully, I'm really praying that they're keeping the original soundtrack. I'm pretty sure they are. Because that means Ska's back. So, Ska fans rejoice. Ska's gonna make a full-fledged return. And a lot of these younger kids who played Skate might not be as impressed by Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but I'm sure you'll still have a good time. I don't think they've said how much it cost yet. Maybe they do. Maybe it's already in the store. I would have to check. But, I don't think it's gonna be that expensive. I don't think they would sell it for a full $60. Would they? I'd still buy it. I'd definitely still buy it. It's worth... That is... Your $60 is more well spent on a Pro Skater remaster than it is on Jump Force. I'm just... I'm gonna stop trashing on it. But, well, I'm gonna tear into it in this review, but I'm not gonna hate it just to hate it. But, yeah, I'd pay full price, but I could see it being like 30 to 40 bucks, maybe. We'll see. But I'm excited for that. And that's it for quick news. I just wanted to talk about Tony Hawk because I fucking love Tony Hawk. So moving on into the Yu Yu Retrospective. So, if you're newbies, blah, 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 blah. Newbies, new listeners, if you haven't heard me before, ever since I started season 2 of the podcast, so around episode 27 or 28, I believe, I started doing what is called Yu Yu Retrospectives. Yu Yu Hakusho is my favorite anime series of all time, and I love talking about it. I love getting into the character discussions, the powers, the analysis of certain arcs, and kind of like backstory behind the scenes stuff with Tagashi and all that good shit. And I love Yu Yu Hakusho, and I was doing kind of review style retrospective full on videos of arcs in earlier podcasts in season 1, but I felt like I wasn't getting enough time to talk about what I wanted to talk about. I'm a very big rambler. I go on and on about certain things, so I needed more time. So I decided to rewatch the series, but 1 episode a week, and I just, talk about what happened in the episode, go into little details about certain things I found interesting, things that I interpret from certain aspects of a character or a fight or whatnot, and we do that every week. So it's just a little segment I do in the podcast called the Yu Yu Retrospective. If you want to listen to the previous ones, you can just go back to previous podcasts. It's between episodes 27 and onward where you'll hear the retrospectives. There are 3 episodes of the podcast from there that I don't do a retrospective because I was doing a video or a podcast on a bigger topic, so I didn't have time for the retrospective. But then I make up for it the following week by doing a double episode retrospective where I'll just do a full podcast with the main topic being the Yu Yu Hakusho episodes. But hope you guys enjoyed this. So Yu Yu Hakusho retrospective episode 18. This is Seiryu the Blue Dragon. So when we last left off, Kuwabara continued his fight with Byakko. He defeated him outside by overfeeding him energy, causing his body to pop. And then they continued their battle in Byakko's lair, which was over a pit of lava, where Kuwabara managed to use his spirit sword as a pole vault to launch himself onto Byakko's platform, surprising him, catching him off guard, and throwing a knockout punch, sending him into the lava. Kuwabara just hanging on, the platform with the little cloth bandages around his waist to survive. So now they're moving on to the next room, and this is going to be a Hiei episode. This is the quickest fight of all the Saint Beast. It's also the biggest stomp. Like, I feel like it reflects, now that I think about it, these fights really reflect the four main characters as they are really well now, because Hiei was like, look, all we need is Kurama and myself. You guys can hang back, we're just babysitting. Granted, all four of them needed to be there for them to make it through. Each one of them had a strength or something very comparable to the Saint Beast they fought. But Kurama kind of, like, embarrassed Genbu. like, don't get me wrong, Kurama suffered, like, a wound that kind of put him out of the rest of the arc. But he kind of flexed hard on Genbu, bro. He was like, let me dodge most of your attacks. Oh, I'm gonna whip you into pieces. Oh, you can still move those pieces? A core. Found it. And then obliterated him. And then we see Kuwabara, like, struggle against Byakuya with his little hair monsters, but he gets around it. Byakuya was absorbing his energy. He gets around it. The lava pits, he gets around it. But he did have a struggle, and Yusuke does struggle against Suzaku, but to be fair, Suzaku is the big bad villain. But I noticed Hiei and Kurama definitely had the easiest times in their Saint Beast fights. So it goes to show you where the characters stand now. Like, Yusuke and Kuwabara are still kind of green to, like, how these situations go. Especially Kuwabara. He has the least amount of demon fighting experience. Yusuke has at least had a couple of cases now. And then Hiei and Kurama are demons. But it's kind of unique how they did that. And like I said, I brought it up before, but a good friend of mine, he was saying it's like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of campaign deal for the Beast of Maze Castle. And I agree, it definitely is like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of a situation where they're traveling through this dungeon, which is essentially Maze Castle, and they keep running into certain enemies, and a character will use their specific talents to get through. An example of this being on their way to Seryu's room, they get into a big room, empty, but there's like, I think like 15 doors or something like that, all in front of them, and they have to choose a door to go through. And only one of these doors is correct. The rest lead to traps that will end up killing them if they fuck up. So there's no going back once they choose a door. So they're all kind of hesitant on what they should do. And Kuwabara's like, back up, I got this. So my boy Kuwabara got to show off his Dungeons and Dragons skills once more after his fight. Kuwabara has the best psychic awareness in the series. Arguably, the only person with better psychic awareness than him would be his sister, Shizuru. Shizuru, but she never trained. So I think by the time you get to like dark tournament related stuff, I think Kuwabara has long since surpassed her in terms of psychic ability. But if she trained, who knows? Maybe she would have been better than Kuwabara. Could she manifest a Jigen Toe? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But Kuwabara uses his psychic awareness to pick the correct door. Hiei doesn't trust Kuwabara, but he's like, look, man, I'm kind of a natural to this stuff. I'm very, like, spiritually aware. And this door right here, the door he picks, has something scary behind it. Really strange energy. And he opens the door, and as he's, like, saying that with, like, a dead serious face, he's ready to rumble. There's a mouse at the front of the door, and Kuwabara's just like, oh, fuck, and he freaks out like a little girl and screams out that he hates mice. So Kuwabara is definitely a useful asset to the team. He's got a lot of heart. He is the heart of the squad. I love Kuwabara to death. But he's also the comic relief, so which makes him the most human of the group, arguably. Him and Yusuke definitely, but Kuwabara, only Kuwabara could like beat like a giant tiger like demon, punching him into lava and almost falling in himself, only to be terrified of a mouse immediately after. Like he was so fucking brave during that fight with Byakuya and ended up winning, but then a mouse terrifies him. Only Kuwabara. So they go through, they laugh at him, they go on through, and they reach the next room, and they notice it's feeling a little cold. It's feeling a little cold, a little icy. Uh, so now we've entered the third Saint Beast domain, as the episode name would already give it away. This is the room for Seiryu, the blue dragon. So Seiryu reveals himself. He's tall as shit, and he's blue, and he's dressed up in kind of like this kind of Chinese, Japanese kind of style garb. It's definitely like very Asian inspired. I wouldn't pin it down to one specific culture. Just because the Saint Beasts are based off the 4 cardinal directions, which is, I think it dates back further into Chinese mythology than Japanese. But the Japanese do have an interpretation of the 4 Saint Beasts as well, the 4 cardinal directions. But I believe it dates further back to Chinese mythos rather than Japanese. But, so he shows up, he's tall, he's blue, he looks nothing like a dragon. The thing I found weird about Seiryu, he really stands out in comparison to the other 3 Saint Beasts. Genbu is supposed to be kind of like a turtle, and I believe in his cardinal direction, Genbu is like a turtle with the tail of like a snake or something like that. He's like a mix of animals, but he's mainly a turtle. So it made sense for Genbu to, you know, kind of have like that sharp tail. But I think Genbu's element was water? Like seas and stuff, like cold stuff, and not like specifically earth. I could be wrong, but I'd have to go deeper into the lore and mythos. I do plan on doing like kind of like Yu Yu Hakusho lore and technique and character related videos once I get that going on YouTube. So maybe I'll do some more research into that. But I believe Genbu's element is more related to... Well, I could be wrong. You know what? No, I think Genbu is Earth. And then Byakuo was actually wind. But Byakuo looks like a big-ass tiger, which he's supposed to. Like a white... He's supposed to be like a white tiger. And then Seiryu is a blue dragon, but like I said, he's just kind of a big blue ice demon. And Suzaku is the phoenix. But even Suzaku, he definitely is the most humanoid looking of them all. But even he kind of like represents the phoenix more than Seiryu represents the dragon, because you can kind of tell from the aspects like his hair, his weird little antenna, his little bird. I think it's called Maguru. She's a bird, so it's kind of like a phoenix kind of thing. And his Prism Storm of Torment and his Prism of Seven, when we get to that, that really has like kind of like a phoenix interpretation to it too. I really like that. But Seiryu, he's kind of blue, and on his clothes there's like kind of like this little dragon ornamental design on it. That's about it. That's the biggest reference to a dragon I get from Seiryu's design. He was definitely the most stand out in terms of character design of the 4 Saint Beasts. And I don't mean that in a good way, but I don't mean that in a bad way either. It's just kind of like, it's kind of odd that you look like that. But you know, whatever. He shows up. Room is filled with ice. And they can kind of like feel Seiryu's presence, like the ice is living, because it's from his own energy. His own demon energy is kind of flexing out this ice all around them. Like his spirit, his demon energy literally makes the room cold, and literally that's how he controls his powers. So they're getting ready to rumble. Seiryu's very confident that he's going to crush them all, and that Genbu and Byakuo were fools. They were used as pawns for Seiryu and Suzaku. And the constant theme we see from the Saint Beast as well is the fact that with each passing Saint Beast, the remainders are always like, well, he was the weakling because of this and this. Like, when Byakuo went out to fight Kuwabara, he was like, Genbu was weak. We only kept him around because he could move about the castle and speak to the people outside. And then Byakuo lost it, and Seiryu was like, Genbu and Byakuo were fools, and this and that. So I don't think Suzaku honestly gave a fuck about the other 3. I think he just was like, dude, if they're useful, they're useful. So their hierarchy is very, they were not friends kind of thing, which we're about to see a clear example of, because things are about to get intense, and Kuwabara's kind of like, what the fuck? Kind of gets nervous, and Seiryu's like, it seems we have another guest. And Kuwabara can sense it, and then behind them, from the door they came in, who else would it be but Byakuo, who is still alive? Kuwabara punched Byakko into lava, and Byakko came out. The fuck? I really want to know how Byakko crawled out of a pool of lava. And another thing I want to know is, Byakko is like a D-class demon. There's no way he's C-class. I don't fucking believe it. At most, Suzaku was like low C-class demon. At most. Because the majority of the demons they fight in the Dark Tournament range, I would say, from like mid to high C-class, and then like maybe some of the later ones at the end were like low B-class, because Toguro was upper B, and he was by far the strongest demon there. So the majority of the Dark Tournament participants had to be like in the C. Maybe like Bui and younger Toguro, or I mean Elder Toguro, and Katasu were like lower C, or I mean lower B class. Because I think Hiei and Kurama by Chapter Black are mid B. But there's no fucking way Byakko is a C-class demon. He has to be a D-class demon, like high D-class maybe. How did he crawl out of lava? You have to think about how strong he was, because Zero was like in the C-class from the Dark Tournament. He was very confident about his fire techniques, even though he flexed on that nigga too, very fucking easily, I might add. Even though he hella flexed on Zero, Zero was very confident in his firepower. And Zero's firepower was kind of impressive for any kind of flame kind of demon we had seen thus far. Because this is before we knew Hiei had the Darkness Blade. This is dead-ass before he uses the Dragon of the Darkness Blade. But Zero could, like, heat up his body to, like, do a chop, and he would, like, melt and cut through, like, a teacup. He could spear you with that heat and then set your whole body ablaze. Like I said, his whole body would glow red with fire. Like, he was a high-powered fire demon. Him I can find viable for maybe crawling out of a pit of lava. How did Byakko do it? I really want to know. I really want to know. You know, it's just one of those things where Togashi just... It's just a manga thing. It's just a shonen thing. It's just, you know, he crawled out of lava. He barely made it out alive. Because he did barely make it out alive. He was burnt and beaten. Definitely in no condition to fight. But that's just like, how? Fucking how? But he comes out struggling, limping over to Seiryu, begging for help. He was like, these fools, these cowards didn't show off their powers until the last moment. So he's talking about Kuwabara doing the whole pole vault thing, where he went for the leap, and it looked like he wasn't going to make it, and Kuwabara was like, haha, spirit sword get long. He fucking sprung himself up. So Byakko wasn't expecting that, so he considered, like, oh, you were cheating, even though earlier he saw Kuwabara put his little hair monster beast, he saw him spear all three of them, or 3 or 4 of them, and then link up the spirit sword into like a circle around that pillar and had them chained up. So it's like, you knew his energy could bend like that, so maybe he thought Kuwabara wasn't smart enough to pull though, because I don't think any of them thought Kuwabara would be smart enough to do that. But he's begging for Byakko, he's begging Seiryu for mercy, and Seiryu's just like, fucking disgusting, you trash. Like, he does not respect Byakko for doing this. He's already lost all respect towards Byakko for losing. So he freezes Byakko solid and then shatters him into bits. So everyone's just like, yo, that was mad disrespectful. Even though, you know, Byakko is their enemy, at the end of the day, that's still your teammate. Like, that's what more they were grossed out about. It's like, you guys are definitely our enemies, but come on, dude, he's supposed to be on your side, and he was begging you for help. He was defenseless, and you just kind of killed him. And his head is on the ground, like his frozen head, and he's like, Seiryu, why? And then Seiryu spits on him, like, as that last bit of disrespect, and then Byakko kind of just dies out. But you could see, like, there are tears in the corner of his eyes. Like, he was like, he didn't get it. He thought they were a team. And this, for some reason, upsets Hiei. So everyone's like really pissed off at this point. They're disgusted by what Seiryu's done. So Seiryu, I feel like, is definitely the least liked of the 4 Saint Beasts. I don't think anyone really likes Seiryu. because his powers are kind of lame too, especially when later we see a demon with far superior ice abilities than Seiryu, who also has a much more likable personality. But even with Genbu, you could say Genbu's powers are kind of neat. And next to besides Suzaku, I think Suzaku is by far the best of the same beast. He had to be. He was awesome. I thought Byakuya was pretty neat in his variety of powers, so I kind of like that character. And the fact that he was similar to Kuwabara, and the fact that these niggas refuse to die. Like there's so many moments where Kuwabara should have just died and he doesn't. So the same goes for Byakuya. He should have died, but he just fucking doesn't until Seiryu killed him. But he doesn't like this. So Yusuke's pissed. He's about to step up, and he's just like, no, I'll take this one. You can handle their leader. So everyone's kind of like, damn, he is really taking this shit seriously. And Kurama explains it as he's seen Hiei like treat teammates and comrades with the same amount of coldness that Seiryu did, but something about Seiryu, or something, the way Seiryu did it, felt really like off to him. Like it set something off in Hiei. And I think it's the fact that the person was like completely defenseless. Like we saw from the earlier arcs when Hiei was like the villain of the 3 stolen dark items, that Hiei had no problem betraying people, doing backstabs, lying about deals. He was going to steal all 3 items and fuck over Yusuke, this and that. But I think it's more the fact that at that point Byakuya was utterly like done. Like there's nothing Byakuya could do that would pose a threat. And Seiryu still just was like, yeah, fuck you, and killed him. I think it was more the fact of that. I think Hiei found it disrespectful to take out somebody that couldn't even fight back. Like, it wasn't even worth his time. That seems like a Hiei thing. This is my headcanon. Don't take this as fact. This is my headcanon. But I think that's what really set Hiei off. Hiei is a cold-hearted dude, especially at this early into the series. But I think even in his own mind, in his own honor code, that was like a no-no. So Hiei throws his cloak off. He's shirtless. So, you know, his power has to increase by like tenfold because he's a shirtless anime character. And his cloak lands over Byakuya's face. And Seiryu notices that. He's like, don't tell me you're like pitying him. And he is just like, shut the fuck up. Let's get to squabbing. So their fight starts, and Seiryu has one fucking attack. This is why this fight is so fast. Seiryu's only attack is a move called Ice Dragon. I don't even think it's officially named in the Japanese or the Viz translation. I think it's just an ice attack he does. I could be wrong. I'll have to look it up. But in the show, he calls it Ice Dragon. But there's no, like, you know, how, like, when people use techniques, it'll show, like, the official Japanese in the anime. There's nothing for that for Seiryu. So I think his only move is to try to fucking freeze you. So Hiei easily dodges it. And then the fight just becomes this game of Seiryu continuously firing these ice blasts at Hiei. And Hiei just dodging them. Hiei just, like, not being fucking touched. And it's cool, like, work at some points, as Hiei's like doing like these backflips and these jumps away, and he's on the wall, and then he dodges it on the wall. It's really cool. And so this goes on for a little bit, and Seiryu kind of like turns up the intensity of the fight, and then he throws an attack, and it partially freezes Hiei a bit. And the thing I find interesting about this is I don't think Togashi planned for Hiei to be a fire demon yet, because Togashi didn't originally plan for Hiei to be a main character, but Hiei is in fact a fire demon. He's a flame demon due to his origins of his birth that we find out much later into the series. But we know that from the Dark Tournament, he reveals himself to be a fire type demon. So he was kind of essentially at this point the perfect matchup for Seiryu, because it's fire and ice. So it would have been interesting if Hiei, like, melted the ice, just kind of, like, melted it off. We don't see him flex the ice off of himself until after Seiryu is defeated. But I think the reason why he was able to, again, this is just an in-story explanation to link up Hiei's powers with fire, just headcanon. I think the reason he was able to still move around enough to finish off Seiryu, even while parts of his body were frozen, was due to the fact that he was a fire demon, and that's probably why he was so confident that he would take this fight easily, and he just stepped up effortlessly to destroy him. Hiei only attacked one time in this entire fight. So, after Hiei is partially frozen, his legs frozen, Seiryu is about to finish him off. Hiei plants his sword into the ground, and then uses it and kind of like propels himself forward, and he goes for one final attack with his sword as well. And the two clash, and it's like a flash of light. Just boom, they go past each other. Classic anime like final clash thing. More of Hiei's body gets frozen, and it looks like Hiei lost the clash initially, but then we get like the cool like, you know how when Trunks cut Frieza in half and his vision starts to blur up and split? We get that kind of view from Seiryu. He's just like, yo, what the fuck? His vision starts to distort, and his head, he starts bleeding from his forehead, and he's just like, no, this isn't right. I'll attack one final blow. And he tries to go for another Ice Dragon attack, and then he starts splitting and cracking, and then he just fucking blows up and dies. And all the ice in the room, like, disappears. Also, they're seeing the first attack, one of the first attacks that you did was an ice attack directly at him, and Hiei just holds his sword up and splits it to go around him, and it almost freezes, like, Yusuke and the others, like, the top of Kuwabara's, like, pompadour is, like, frozen solid. He's like, dude, you did that on purpose. Like shit like that. He flexed on this dude. And the reason why I tried to get into detail on so many other aspects of this episode is because the fight itself is done like that. It's so quick. But I think it's less about the fight and more about the motivation for Hiei's character. Like I said, my headcanon for his whole honor code thing, like, he even found it disgusting and disrespectful to just trample over a fallen comrade like that, and he didn't like that too much. Just like the other ones, the other team, the rest of the team. But that's just my headcanon. But they're all talking to here. They're like, damn, dude, what the fuck did you do? That was fast. Like, and they're like, how many times did you cut him? And he's like, only 18. Like, I was like, you son of a bitch. Only 18 times? It was like in a flash of light. So Hiei was so fast in that flash of light clash that he sliced up Seiryu 18 times. Or was it 16? It was 16 or 18. It was a lot of cuts. Yusuke was like, I could only count like 7 or 8 or something like that. Kurama said after the first attack I only saw flashes of light, and then Kuwabara barely saw the flashes. So you could tell that this nigga Hiei was not playing games, bro. He fucking obliterated Seiryu. And the thing I love about that attack, when you think about it, Hiei did not need to hit him that many times. If he was that quick, one slash would have sufficed and destroyed Seiryu. But he had to, he overkilled him for a reason. So, you know, he throws his cloak back on, he's just, and Yusuke's like, damn, dude, if you ever did something like that on me, I'd be finished. And he is just like, maybe, and he kind of just shrugs him off. And Kurama's noting that, like, it looks like he's warming up to you guys. It looks like he actually likes you guys. Which is true. He enjoys Yusuke. He has a sense of respect for Yusuke, and I think in a way he has some sort of respect for Kuwabara, though I wouldn't say it's fully fledged quite yet. But he sees that Kuwabara does have his usefulness when needed. That's how he would feel about it, I would say. And he's already good with Kurama. So they're done with that. While that was happening, things were getting worse in the city with the people being possessed by the Makai insects. And after Seiryu's defeat, Suzaku, we don't see his face yet. I don't think we see his face yet. But he's kind of like, okay, these people have been meddling with my shit for way too long now. The fact that they're still alive is disgraceful. and we need to do something about it. So Meguru, his little pet bird, is just like, Suzaku, fuck that bird. That bird is a good sidekick. I think she's a good sidekick character, and she plays her role really well. Fuck that bird. But they find out about Keiko. Like, they find out Yusuke is not super close to anybody, really, but except Keiko. They seem to be good, very close with each other. So Suzaku uses the Makai whistle to have the insects find Keiko and follow her to the school. So while that's going on, one of these insects possesses, I think his name is Iwajima, bad teacher. One of the two bad teachers, the big tall dude with the glasses, the one Yusuke shoots in the back with the spear gun for the first time. He gets possessed and he starts attacking Keiko, and he's just like, you need to get some rest, and he starts to swing on her. So now Botan has to go save Keiko. While that's happening, Yusuke and the others are rushing towards the top of the castle to, finish this off once and for all with Suzaku. And the episode kind of ends there, leaving off at that point. So next week, we are reaching the beginning of the end of the Forsaken Beast arc, where we'll see the early parts of Yusuke versus Suzaku. We'll see how Yusuke manages to get to Suzaku, because that's a fun little part. We'll see Botan trying to keep Keiko safe, etc., etc. So we're reaching the finale point. I believe the fight with Yusuke and Suzaku is like 2 or 3 episodes. So we'll be covering that fight for a couple of weeks. It's definitely the longest fight in the arc. It's a good fight. I think Suzaku was a great villain. I feel like he was like the perfect villain to end to cap off the kind of like that first season early stuff, because we still have a few more episodes in season 1 after this. I believe we still have like 5 more before we get to that. But then with the whole Yukina rescue arc, you're introduced to Toguro, which sets up him as the villain for the Dark Tournament for season 2. So that's the Yukina rescue arc is kind of like the conclusion to the whole like season 1 series of like spirit detective cases that Yusuke goes on before the Dark Tournament hits, when shit gets really crazy. But Suzaku kind of serves as like the peak, like that pinnacle of like, alright, this is a real fucking case. Like some of these cases, a lot of these cases have been a lot smaller, but Suzaku is proving a true threat, and I think he played his role as that sort of like villain really well, especially since this is going to be the first time we see Yusuke fight since he trained with Genkai as well, because his cases before that, he had no proper training yet. So now he's going up against Suzaku, and this time luck can't save him this time. He has to really show off his skills, and boy does he does that. I really like the fight with Yusuke and Suzaku. I think it's one of the best fights Yusuke's had, honestly. The best fights my favorite Yusuke fights are him versus Suzaku, him versus Toguro, and the second Sensui fight. The one where they first get to the cave to try to save Kuwabara. I love that fight. I like the other 2 fights against Sensui as well, but if I had to pick one, it'd be that fight. That fight is my favorite fight in the entire series. But Suzaku versus Yusuke, good fight. I think they did a good job with it. And Suzaku's powers are fucking awesome. But that's all for the retrospective. Again, like I said, this one, I tried to talk about a lot of other stuff just because the fight itself was so short. But I feel like you're not supposed to get a lot out of Hiei just yet. They're taking out the trash outside. Sorry if you hear that. You're not supposed to get to know Hiei that much just yet, I feel. Because you get more of that in the Dark Tournament, and even next arc we learn something about him, like Yukina is his long lost sister, so you get more character of Hiei after this. But I think this was just to kind of cement him as, I guess, a member of the team. I won't say good guy. I feel like Hiei doesn't really become a full-on good guy until you kind of... I don't think Hiei ever really becomes a good guy fully. I think he just likes Yusuke and the others enough to not attack them. So he aligns on the good side. But I don't think Hiei was ever really a good guy until you kind of reach the Three Kings arc, where he's like more in it to satisfy himself as a person and round out his character arc. The Dark Tournament he had to go to. Chapter Black, he was barely involved until like nearing the end, where shit was getting a little more hectic. So you know what I mean. But it's the start of him becoming a better person, I think, because he's stone cold. So he has his own little character arc into developing into a guy they can trust. So I think this was a good start to that. Just like how with Kurama's fight, it was the first time you ever saw Kurama fight when he fought Genbu. So it was a good setup to his character, and you get a lot more of Kurama during the Dark Tournament. Kurama was fucking... You honestly get a lot of Kurama during the Dark Tournament, and I loved it. So we'll see how that goes next week when we get to the first part of the Maze Castle arc. So enough of that. We've been talking about Yu Yu for like 30 minutes. So let's get into the meat for the rest of the podcast. We will be talking about Jump Force. So with Jump Force, if you guys don't know, Jump Force is actually the fourth game in kind of like a series of these Shonen Jump celebration kind of video games. The series started off with Jump Superstars. It was a 2D fighting game on the Nintendo DS. And it was based on, weekly Shonen Jump characters from Shonen Jump and Shueisha. And it came out August 8th of 2005. I'm looking it up right here. But yeah, it was a 2D fighting game. It only came out in Japan. You could get it in America if you could, like, port it over. Because one of my friends, I believe, had the second game. But it's only in Japanese. It never came to America. But it was just, a video game made to celebrate Shonen Jump characters from the Shonen Jump magazine. So you had characters like Goku, Naruto, Luffy, Gintama, Shonen King stuff, Rurouni Kenshin, Hitman Reborn even too. They had a good amount of characters. They had some variety in it, and it's a fun game. It's a fun little 2D fighting game, beat 'em up. I liked it a lot. I played an emulator of Jump Superstars, and I actually played Jump Ultimate Stars. Jump Ultimate Stars was the sequel, and it came out in Japan November 26th of 2006. So about a year later, a little over a year later, we got Jump Ultimate Stars. I believe Jump Ultimate Stars is very similar to how Superstars plays pretty much. It's a 2D fighting game. The game had 305 characters, 56 were playable, so all the other ones were supports from 41 different series though. So you just Ultimate Stars is like Superstars, just with more people in it. And that's the one I've like played hands-on in an actual like DS. It's super fun. It's a really unique creative game because the way you set up kind of like your character setup, it's like a comic panel. So you put them on like these panels to make your team setups and this and that for your supports and your characters. So it was neat. I never fully understood it just because it was in Japanese. You could probably find an English patch for it online through an emulator or something somewhere. But I never personally got a chance to fully understand it, and I never like played it. It was a friend's. But we wouldn't see another Jump game until Jump Stars Victory Versus, which came out in Japan March 19th of 2014, and it was made to celebrate the 45th anniversary of Shonen Jump, Weekly Shonen Jump. It only came out in Japan on this initial release in March 19th of 2014, and it was on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita. You guys remember the PlayStation Vita? I don't either. But we did end up, this is the first Jump game we actually end up getting in America. We get this game a year later in an improved version called J-Star Victory Versus Plus, and it was on the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3, and again the unforgettable PlayStation Vita. And it had an additional arcade mode, and I believe it also had more characters. And so this came out. When did this one come out? It doesn't say. North America, June 30th of 2015. So this was the third game, and it had this game was cool. I feel like this game is probably like the middle ground for the Jump Stars games. Like Superstars was like the beginning. I feel like Ultimate Stars is kind of like what people would say is one of the better ones. J-Star's Victory Versus is fun, but I hear it gets stale really fast. I never hands-on played it a lot. I want to get it, but I want to get it cheap. Because I know you can buy it on the PlayStation Store, but I'm not buying that old-ass game for $60. So if I do get it, I'll probably get it from cheap from a store somewhere for like $20. But I do want it. And this was the... Oh, sorry, my coffee pot's turning off. All this fucking noise going on. Shit scared me. But this was the third installment. We got this, and then 5 years later, or a few years after that, not 5 years. Is it 5 years? I believe it actually is technically 5 years after. But yeah, it was 5 years after. We got Jump Force. Jump Force is the game we'll be talking about today. It was to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Weekly Shonen Jump. So yeah, it was 5 years later because J-Star's Victory Versus came out in 2014. This game was released on February 15th, 2019. Was it really that early? I really thought it came out in like 2018. Like late 2018. I guess I was wrong. February 15th, 2019 for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, with the Nintendo Switch port being planned. This is the latest in the Jump Force series, in the Jump series, and I feel like this is a big disappointment and a big step down. The J-Stars games were made to be kind of like a celebration of the Weekly Shonen Jump history. See all your favorite Shonen Jump characters from various series spanning over different decades and different time periods of the Weekly Shonen manga collide and clash with each other and have a fight. And I think the problem with Jump Force is it was hyped up to be such a big spectacle, and I think the issue with it is I feel like they put some kind of effort or start into making it that, and then they just didn't finish. And I'll get more into detail about that as we go ahead. So just to really describe my experience with Jump Force, we'll go piece by piece, like I was saying earlier, just like with the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are the graphics, the visuals, because that was a big thing involved with promoting the game and advertising the game, was how the game was going to look. The game went for a graphic style that was going to try to make every character fit within the same parameters. Like, it was reflective of how these characters would look if they got sucked into the real world. It wasn't like an anime cartoon style or just kind of like these graphical. It wasn't like J-Stars Versus where, they were just graphics, but the characters just looked like they were from their shows. They tried to imprint, like, if Goku came into the real world, this is how Goku would look in our real world, reflective of that. And they didn't go for just an interpretation of like a real life Goku. It's just like, no, this is literally Goku in the real world. And they just did that with every character. The roster of the game, I won't lie, is pretty big. Has like 50 something characters, I think, not including DLC. It had a nice roster, which was appealing to it, but we'll get to that in a minute. But all the characters fit this graphic style, and the graphics to this game, I feel, are very, very hit and miss. When I say that, what I mean to say is, while certain character models look really good, like there's certain character models I won't even say look really good. They just look well implemented into the game. A lot of them don't. A lot of them look fucking jarring and terrifying, and not in a good way. Like, Frieza looks horrifying and not in a good way. Like, Frieza's supposed to be like a menace. He's supposed to be like this evil alien villain. He looks fucking creepy in Jump Force. Like, he always has this weird smile on his face, and the way they try to like put his textures to make it look like he's a real thing, like a real creature, it comes off really like, what's that term? Uncanny Valley. Where it's too real. But you know it's fake. Like, it's like that. It hits the Uncanny Valley really hard, and it hits it too hard. They didn't try to break a balance. Like, that was one thing I praised the FF7 remake for. The characters were a balance of looking very realistic for this modern day and like the graphic style they were going for, but they didn't break into that Uncanny Valley because it still kept the charm of like certain design features and functions from their original character models and their original artwork. So you kind of had this fun little mixing pot to make these character models as real as possible, but at the same time not losing that old school graphical cartoony charm. Jump Force tried to go full realistic, and that's what makes it look so off on a lot of models. Goku, his eyes look fake as fuck. They look really like what's the word? Like plastic. Like his face texture kind of looks fine. But like the skin and everything, but his eyes look really plasticky in comparison when you put it on his face, and then when he talks, it looks really stiff. That's another thing too. Like the models, despite how good or how bad they look and move around really stiff. Like they'll make a motion and it's kind of just like a stop motion kind of thing, but a little more fluid. That's how I would describe it. And it's not like, oh, that's so charming and unique, it's stop motion. It's not supposed to look like stop motion. So it kind of throws you off from the whole thing, because like the textures for like environments, like the cities and like the fields for like battles, look really, really good because they don't have to focus on like a character model. It's more of just a backdrop. It's more of just like background and design kind of thing. So they can go all out and realistic with those. So I would have to say like the scenes, like the backgrounds and the battlefields and the stages and stuff look really, really good. That's probably like the best looking. Those are the best looking things about Jump Force are its grounds, like the buildings, the arenas, the grasslands, the snowy lands, being on top of a city building, shit like that. All that stuff looks great. It looks fucking fantastic and amazing. And the fact that they're able to keep it so fluid constantly, I do have to praise them for. But then you put these models in, and it starts to become really jarring, because what I guess you could argue is like, oh, well, it's kind of like this weird kind of like toy looking thing in these realistic battlefields. Yeah, but that's not what they were going for. And you can tell it's not what they're going for because it doesn't necessarily fully look like they dedicated themselves to making it look like kind of like these really life-size realistic action figures fighting. You could tell they were trying to make it real, but since they hit the Uncanny Valley, it just comes off so awkward and unpleasing to the eye. Now in battle, this isn't a big deal. These models work great in battle because you're kind of more zoomed out from their character models. You don't have to look at every little detail of their face or their body or muscle definition or things of that nature. And they're constantly moving around in a fight, so it's not like you're going to see every little detail. So in motion, in a fight, that's fine. That looks pretty fucking solid, all things considered. But when you get to like cutscenes, or you're just walking around, or you're on the character select, and you can really look at the models, you start to see their facial features, and it looks really fucking uncomfortable. And the thing about it is, since it's just like, oh, this is what these characters would look like if they're real. They weren't made to really fit the same art style. Some people also argue that they were. They're definitely not, because you can tell, like, the Dragon Ball Z characters look like Akira Toriyama's art style. The Naruto characters look like Kishimoto's art style. Just laid out to be like, if these people were real, but in this art style, this is how they would look. Like, let me just Google Jump Force Frieza, and you'll get what I'm saying. It's just like, ugh. It makes you uncomfortable, and it takes away from the experience because you're feeling so uncomfortable with it. You're just kind of looking at it, and it's something about it is just throwing you off. You're just like, ew, what the fuck? Like, I'm looking at Frieza's model now, and when, like, The teeth too. See, that's another thing. They have teeth. Like, no shit. Of course they have teeth. But when Frieza like talks or smiles with his teeth, or he's mad and he's like, you know, grating his teeth together, that shit, ugh. Like, you zoom in and his mouth's really small. And it's just like, these were not made to look like this. And you can see the textures of, like, you know, his skin and his muscles and his weird. And like I said, like, the skin textures look really good, but then when you layer like aspects and other qualities of a face on top of that, that's when it starts to look awkward. Like, Frieza, like, as a model, like, the skin texture, it looks good. It looks really good. I won't say it doesn't. But then his eyes look really plasticky. The nose definitely looks like a plastic mold. The teeth look fake as fuck. They look like these. It comes off looking really plastic-like. That's the best I can say. Golden Frieza looks like a fucking foil wrapper. It looks like somebody wrapped gold tinfoil around him. It doesn't look good. When you look at, like, Goku and Vegeta's eyes and their facial features, because their faces are so big, like Dragon Ball Z characters, this will make you notice Dragon Ball Z characters have really big fucking heads. I never really thought about it because, you know, they're all in their own series, so they all kind of have the same head size. But when you look at, like, Goku side by side with, like, Luffy or Naruto or someone else from a different series, bro, their heads are fucking huge. And it's, like, so jarring. It's like, you'll be in a cutscene and they'll be talking, right? And I'm just like, bro, Vegeta's head is, like, almost Gon's torso. It's fucking like ugh. And then, like, you know, characters like Gon, example, or Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho, they have the big old school 90s kind of vibe anime character eyes. They're like really big and bright. That shit looks creepy with realistic graphics. I'm sorry, it does. Like, no one wants to see big ass anime eyes in real life. There's a reason that it's an art style. It's not meant to look 100% realistic. So when you see it trying to, like, force its way into a realistic style, it comes off looking really stiff and really fake. And, some cutscenes, when characters make an entrance or they leave, it looks like they didn't even take the time to fully animate models. Like, when Frieza leaves in a cutscene, and this isn't just one cutscene. When Frieza leaves in most cutscenes, he, like, levitates away. He, like, floats up and flies off. That's just what he does. He does his little Frieza pose and floats away. He's not moving. He just kind of, like, it's like the model is, like, programmed to just go up in the air and then vanish. But it's like his body isn't moving. It just looks like this stiff texture, this stiff object, like a character. And since he's doing this Frieza pose, it's almost like he's doing a T-pose. You know what I mean, the Frieza pose where his feet are kind of crossed and he's standing up straight and his arms are out. Like, his big flex pose, like when he goes gold especially. He does that and he floats away, but it's just like the model's going up in the air. Like the game glitched out and the model's just floating when it's supposed to be standing in place. And you see that shit and you... And I'm just like, Bandai, you really expected people not to notice this bullshit? It doesn't look good, bro. It's like aspects of the graphics look good, but when you put it all together, it doesn't look like all the stuff is made to match up. And that's what it is. It's like a collage of different, like, graphical styles and animation styles mixed together. And they didn't try to meld them together. They just kind of threw them in a pot. It's not a melting pot. It's like you stuffed a bunch of shit in a suitcase and you can't quite zip it up. And then you gotta shake it around and then you just throw all your shit on the floor. Jump Force. Another thing that I think looks fantastic graphically about Jump Force, though, that I'm gonna have to bring credit to, look, it's weird, but the textures of the clothing look fucking fantastic. Like, Goku terrifies me. He doesn't look good. He looks really stiff and fake. His gi looks amazing. Like, you can see the threads of his gi. Like, like it doesn't just look like this orange animated top. It looks like a gi, like actual threading. Like you can see the stitching of it, and the same thing with his shirt and his sash. Vegeta's armor looks like real armor. You can see all kind of like the detailed like decals and lines. And then since it's like the same armor he wears all the time, it has like scratches and kind of cracks in it because it's battle worn. Those details look fantastic. And it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of like how the skin texture looks. The textures and detail on the clothing looks really well done. I think it's just like the way they did the faces. Like I'm looking at a Vegeta model now, and his eyes just don't look like they go there. The same thing with his hair. When Goku and Vegeta go Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Blue, same thing with Trunks. They get the Super Saiyan hair. The texture of the hair looks really nice because you can see all the strands, because it's hair. You're supposed to see strands of hair individually, and you can see it. But it's like a hair model from one game placed on the head model of another game. It doesn't look like it's supposed to be there, and you really take notice of it. And like I said, usually when you're in battle, this shit doesn't matter because you're not really getting close-ups of them. But when you do certain attacks, you get kind of like these close-up cutscene shots, especially with ultimates. So you're gonna see everything. And you're gonna notice, like I'm looking at a picture of Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Jump Force Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Look it up on Google Images. And you'll see what I'm saying. There's the screenshot I'm looking at, like it's Goku punching Frieza in the stomach. And I'm not gonna fault him for this, because this might just be like before or after the initial gut shot, so maybe Frieza's going flying back, or maybe Frieza hasn't been quite hit yet. But Goku's fist isn't even connecting with Frieza's stomach. I could be wrong. This could be like, oh, he hit him and then he's about to fly off. So it's a still shot. But you can see what I'm saying. Like the textures on Frieza's skin and stuff look really fucking good. Like they look really good. Goku's gi, you can see like the threads all over it, especially when he's Super Saiyan Blue. So he kind of has that aura around it, and it's highlighted. And then you can see the individual strands of his hair. But when you look at his eyes, his pupils, his nose, his mouth, they don't look like they're supposed to be there. His ears look fucking deformed. And granted, it's a video game, so not everything's gonna look perfect. But it just doesn't look like, like Frieza at 100% looks fucking horrifying. It just does. And then he has like scratches on his little crystal shoulder things when he's battle damaged. And I feel like those shouldn't be there. Like, I feel like those look fake too. Like, I get it. Yeah, it's supposed to be part of his body, so I guess it kind of makes sense that they'd be bruised. But in the anime, they're never like bruised or scratched or anything. So I feel like they should have just left that the same as in the anime as they just for the game. And I don't know, Luffy, you know how Luffy's eyes look. They're like those big circles with the dots. They fucking look like googly eyes on Luffy's character model. And his hair looks Luffy's hair looks really fucking plasticky. And it's funny because his hair fits his face model, like his head, but then it all just looks like plastic. His clothes, fucking great textures. Again, I'll say that. The scar on his chest, the big cross scar on his chest, looks great. But then like the models just look really plasticky. So the best part about this stuff is definitely the backgrounds. In terms of like particle effects for the game, they look really cool for the most part, but sometimes it can become way too much. Like there's way too many particle effects going on at once at some points, especially if you use support attacks. And you can't see what the fuck is going on screen because there's too many big, bright, colorful particles and explosions going on, and they take way too long to dissipate, like to dissolve. So for like long after you did a move, like the particles are still floating off, and you can't see, but maybe your enemy can, and if they're a CPU, damn well your enemy can see you, and they will rush you and beat the crap out of you. And it just doesn't, it's a really ugly experience altogether. It feels like they had several ideas that they wanted to mix and match to make this game, and they couldn't quite decide on which ones they wanted to use. So they were like, let's just use all of them. That'll look good. We'll put all our ideas together, which inherently isn't bad. But like I said, they didn't kind of meld them together. They didn't make a melting pot for all these different kind of art styles and graphics to mesh in and look like one fluid experience. They just kind of threw them together. And if you're not getting what I'm saying, think of games like Final Fantasy VII, for example. Final Fantasy VII has different graphical styles. You have your main thing where you're moving around on screen, whether it be like in a city or a specific location or in the world map, and you have kind of like your little polygon, pointy-shaped character models. Then you go into battle, and the models look a lot more detailed. You can see the characters fully for who they are. And then, like, the cutscenes look very similar to, like, the battle stuff, just even more detailed. And it's, like, kind of almost 3 different graphical styles in that game. But it's not jarring to see them pop up when they do. It all meshes together really well. Overall, Final Fantasy VII, the original game is what I'm talking about, when you put it all together, it looks like it's supposed to be together. It doesn't look like, ugh, what the fuck? Why is that there? That looks so drastically different from that. They didn't try to layer things on top of each other for the sake of it. They layered things on top of each other and worked their way into melded together for one experience. So it all looks like it's supposed to be as one. Whereas Jump Force looks like it's parts from different things that they mix match. So you're constantly going to be looking at the game and being like, ugh. And it's going to drive you away from the experience. So that's it for the graphics. I can go on and on about that. If you want more like examples, I suggest you look up screenshots and gameplay stuff from Jump Force, just so you can get what I'm talking about. So then the next thing we'll be talking about is audio. I don't have a lot to say about audio, just because voice acting is voice acting, and the voice actors for this game, it's only in Japanese. There is no dub, so you only get the Japanese, and then we have subtitles for America. It sounds fine, because it's the voice actors from their shows. So if you like the voice actors from the show, you're gonna like the voice actors in the game. It's the same fucking thing. So I don't really have much to say about that. Other audio things I'd say are sound effects. Sound effects are also fine. Definitely directed from the show. And this is one thing that I find good. They didn't try to meld together as one, because these different series have different sound effects unique to their own. Like when Goku charges up a Kamehameha, you know that sound distinctly. When Naruto charges up a Rasengan, you know that sound distinctly. And it adds to the quirks and uniqueness of a show or a series. So, unlike the graphics, which I feel like they should have melded together, I'm glad they didn't meld the audio of like sound effects together. Everyone's moves sound like how they should. So no arguments against that. So I guess the one thing you can really bring up about audio that I could say more about is the music. Because it's funny I say more about, because I can't really say much about it, because the music is very, very, very forgettable. There's not a lot of... I don't think there's any tracks at all in Jump Force that are from any actual anime. Like, all of them are original tracks, but they're not unique. They're kind of just like these... Every stage has like this loud, kind of epic battle music for every fight, but it's like... Every battlefield wants to have like the final boss battle music. That's what I feel like it is. So all of them are unforgettable because they all are essentially sounding like the same thing. Like, oh yeah, there's epic music in the background. I really don't fucking care, because nothing sounds unique. Nothing wants to stand out besides being like this loud, epic, orchestrated, this is the final boss music. And it's like that for all the stages. I think with all the Season 1 DLC, they added like 3 new stages in. And same thing, just loud, epic music. There's like 16 stages total. I can't recall one. The only track I can recall from Jump Force is the music that plays in the lobby. And it's really half-assed. It's kind of trying to sound like this groovy, like, kind of chill theme when you're in the hub, and it gets really repetitive really fast. There's nothing like, there's no breakdowns between it. There's no kind of like sub-chorus or a bridge or anything like that. It's kind of like the same music being played over and over and over again in a loop. So at first, like when I was listening to it for the first couple of minutes, I was like, this sounds, I like it. Okay. And then after 5 minutes, I had drowned it out completely from my head because it was the same thing. And there's no, like, I don't think there's an option to change music. If there is, maybe I just didn't notice when I came back to play. If there is, let me know. But there's only one lobby track, as far as I know. And it's not very good. But that's the only... That just goes to show you, that's the only track I remember. And I didn't even really like it all that much, so... That goes to show you, like, the one track I do remember I didn't really like, and all the other songs I forgot about because they all sound pretty much the same. They didn't take advantage of the different animes in this game. There's so many different anime series. You have Dragon Ball, you have Naruto, you have One Piece, you have Yu Yu Hakusho, you have Hunter x Hunter, you have Saint Seiya, you have JoJo's, you have Bleach. You have all these different, My Hero, Boruto, Black Clover. You have all these different series. Regardless of how many characters represent each series. Rurouni Kenshin. There's a lot, dude. City Hunter. It goes on and on and on how many characters are in this game. Like I said, it has a nice roster. But you have all these different animes with all these different musical styles and all these different iconic tracks from these anime. Like Dragon Ball Z, I'm sorry if you guys don't fuck with anything outside of the Bruce Falconer score. But the original Dragon Ball Z music fits Dragon Ball Z a lot more than the Bruce Falconer score. You're nostalgia blinded, I'm sorry. Hot take, be mad at me if you feel like that, but the Bruce Falconer score, it is good. I do not hate it. I like it. It was cool. But there's a lot of controversy around Bruce Falconer and certain things that happened. And also, the original score is just better because it was made designed specifically for the animation you see on screen in Dragon Ball Z. So those tracks are fucking great. When you hear them in Kai, I'm just like, this fits. People are like, man, this music sucks, and this. You actually don't like Dragon Ball Z then. You like the Americanized aspects that were put onto Dragon Ball Z. You don't actually like Dragon Ball Z. And that's okay. Like what you like. But I'm just telling you, the original is better. But you have that stuff. You have Bleach. Bleach has fucking top-notch music in both openings, endings, and music in the show. Fucking, they didn't even put number one into the... You know what would have been cool? No, I'll get to it later when I say things that they could add on to help the game. But One Piece has some great epic tracks for everyone. Naruto, damn well, has some epic fucking ninja shit. JoJo, like, come on, man. You say Run from My Hero isn't in Jump Force? How? Yu Yu Hakusho? Oh my god. Come on, man. I don't know if it's licensing issues that stopped them from using that music. I don't know if it was personal preference, but I feel like they really dropped the ball on music. This would have been the perfect opportunity, especially for the 50th anniversary. And I understand that they're celebrating Shonen Weekly Jump manga and not necessarily the anime, but you know damn well that people know these characters, especially in modern day situations, a lot more from their anime series rather than the manga source material. So although it is celebrating the history of the manga, they should have used music from the anime because the anime music for these shows was made for these shows. It was made to fit the vibes of these series. So it goes hand in hand with them. So it's beyond me why they didn't do this. And I understand having original tracks. If you want original tracks, it's a game. And that's fine to have original tracks in the game, especially with the original characters being in the game. There's some original boss characters. They all suck. But but even still, like, I feel like they didn't even try with that. So it's very meh. Very meh in terms of music, in my opinion. Am I wrong? Am I drastically wrong? Is there music from the anime in Jump Force? I don't think there is. I don't ever recall hearing any. Let me Google it. Let me Google it just to be safe. Just so I don't sound like a fucking fool. But I don't remember any music from an anime being played in Jump Force. I only remember the epic, like, like all that epic music played on every fucking stage that sounds the same. Let's see. Jump Force music. Extended lobby theme. Why? Oh my god. Jump Force's intense soundtrack. See? How to make this game... Oh my god, there's a Reddit post. How to make this game 100,000% better by playing it with anime music. Music is laggy. Yeah, they don't have any anime music in this game. That's the problem. See, that's enough. And it takes away from the epicness of the battles. Because when you're like doing Goku's Kamehameha or Spirit Bomb, you want to hear that Dragon Ball music. Or even Dragon Ball Super. You want to hear the flute, that Naruto battle flute play when Naruto's charging up like a Rasengan and about to wreck a nigga. Like, you want to hear that. You don't get that. And it's just like, you guys, come on. Dropping the ball big time. Like, I don't know. And it looks like there's music packs, like mods, probably for like the PC version, so you can have anime music into the game instead of the original Jump Force soundtrack, which I think is awesome. Like I said, I don't know if it's licensing issues. I don't know if it was their personal choice, but I feel like they could have done better with how they handled this music. Even if it was licensing reasons and they couldn't play the music from the anime in the game, understandable. If that's what it is, that's what it is. But they could have made better music for this game, hands down. And I don't think anyone would really argue with me on that point. If you do, let me know why you like the music for Jump Force. Personally, I think it's just weak. So music and visuals out of this aside, how does this game play? We're gonna get into the middle of it with like its battle system. Then we'll talk about its story, then its features, then what I think it can do to improve. So that's how the rest of this is going to go. You know what? Look, before we jump over to the battle system, just a quick thing I wanted to note. When I say like even if like say it was licensing issues that caused them not to be able to add original anime music to Jump Force, they could have had a better in-game soundtrack. What are examples of this? Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Now, I don't give a fuck if you hate or like Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, just like I don't give a fuck if you hate or like Jump Force. This is just me stating my opinion. And regardless of how you feel about Xenoverse 2, I think Xenoverse 2 has much better music in-game than Jump Force does. And you know why? Their music feels like Dragon Ball fight music. When you go into a level or a stage in Xenoverse, the music feels like it meshes and matches up with the series. And it's for one show, and they have plenty of tracks. Lobby music, also very good. You can also switch lobby music, so you don't have to listen to the same track for all of time. You can pick whatever lobby music you want. More lobby, the lobby during the lobby, the hobby, the dolly lobby. The lobby music changes throughout the story of Xenoverse 2, so when you get to a certain part in the story or a certain arc in the story, the music will change in the main lobby. I believe once you beat the game, you can change that music and make it to whatever song you want to be for the lobby. And I picked my favorite one, so I like that, but you can change it whenever you feel like. So it gives you options. And that's just a little thing, like lobby background music, not a huge deal. But the fact that they added that option, and the fact that there's even multiple tracks for your main hub world in your lobby, is really fucking good. Like, good on them for that. And you have stages with various battle music. You can also change the battle music for whatever stage. You don't necessarily have to listen to the default song for that stage. This and that. There's a lot of things involving the music in that game. Also, there's DLC available for Xenoverse 2 where you can download anime music packs for the game. I believe they have that for fighters too. I don't know if I would necessarily buy it because it's like $15 for some songs. So I don't know if it's worth it or not. I haven't bought them, but the fact that that's an option is cool. And even without that, the music stands on its own. I have plenty of memorable tracks that I like in Xenoverse 2. I really like the background music that plays. I don't necessarily remember their names because the only time you see their names is if you look them up yourselves, or if you're changing music for a stage. And I usually just leave it on the default. But I really like the World Tournament music stage. I like the Tournament of Power music stage, Trunks' Future stage, the City, Capsule Corp. There's lots of tracks that I can remember that I actually like from Xenoverse 2 because they fit. And like they have like those heavy like battle guitar riffs. So if you're looking for something, I wouldn't say Bruce Falconer score, but something similar to that, they have stuff like that. They have like that. Sorry, I took a sip of coffee, but they have a lot of shit like that. So that's what I mean when I say they could have had a better original soundtrack for their game. Or they could have done a mix of both, like Final Fantasy VII Remake. They had classic tracks, they had new tracks, they had remixes, and they had like these other various versions or additions to songs. And it was cool, and everything felt like it went together. Like all the songs felt like they went together, new and old and remixed. So, boom, it's not hard, bro. Well, it probably is a challenge, but I feel like they could have done better. Okay, so that is it for music officially. Moving on into the battle system. This is probably, actually the end-all be-all best part about Jump Force. And this is the argument people usually use when people talk about anything else related to Jump Force. Its battle system is fun. I won't lie. It's very, very simple though. So I'm gonna have to talk about that. It's very anime arena fighter, just like in general. You have your button that you press for your light combos. You keep rapidly pressing it to do a full combo. You got your heavy combo hits. You can mix and match those together here and there for some different combos. You can switch. You can power up. Pressing like, I believe, like R2 or something like that opens up like your skill list so you can choose your special moves. You have 3 special moves and an ultimate. You also have an awakening, so a powered up state. Some of these powered up states do transform the characters. Like, you know, Goku and Vegeta, for example, they go Super Saiyan Blue, Frieza goes Gold. Yusuke does his full demon thing. Toguro goes full 100% demon. Shit like that. Excuse me. But, in general, basic shit. You also have supports because it's a 3v3 battle system. So you can use a support attack or you can switch to a character. You and your other 2 teammates share a health bar, little ability bar, and your ultimate bar to do stuff. You can also do things like counter high speed, counter a person's high speed counter, etc. And this costs like gauge, like ability gauge. I forget all the specific terms they give it. You can do like little just guards. Things will slow down when you do like a high speed evade and stuff like that. It's cool. On paper, it sounds fun. In practice, not so much. I feel like Jump Force, this goes into like a very repetitive loop. Because everyone's combos not only feel the same, because it's same button layouts, they also just, in general, kind of almost look the same, I'd even say. Everyone's combo starts off on the ground, and then you can keep pressing the button, and they'll fly up into the air, then you follow your opponent when they go flying up into the air, and you do like a finishing few hits and throw them into the ground. Like basic combos, just basic mashing one button combos. But everyone has that. It's like every single character has that. So I'd argue that Jump Force is even a step down from a lot of these arena fighters, because they didn't even really try to vary the looks of the combos. And you can argue with me and say like, oh, well, Stormforge button mashes like that too. Xenoverse button mashes like that too. True, yes they do. They indeed do. But everything looks and feels kind of different, even though it's the same button layouts and presses. Storm 4, I've talked about this before. I think it has the best battle system out of any Storm game, and Storm is just kind of meant to be kind of just essentially fun. So yes, you just kind of press square to do your combos, but visually they all look fucking different, so at least you have something fun to look at depending on what character you pick. With Jump Force, like I said, it all just kind of looks the same, and this goes back into like the graphics with the particle effects and the kind of zoomed out camera, so you don't have to look at the models in full detail. Since it's kind of like that with these particle effects too, even like big explosions or big hits kind of just all look the same and feel the same. And so when you're looking at the game as a whole, when you're playing it, after you play it for like maybe a few hours, every character's combos are just kind of start to melt in together and look exactly alike. Whereas in Storm, not only does everyone have like a varying speed, some characters move a lot faster than others, some people have combos that are longer than others, some people's combos involve shurikens, fuck shuriken spammers in Storm 4, but even still, some combos involve mainly melee hits, some involve using jutsus in the mix of their combos. So you get what I'm saying, right? You can press, okay, say for example with Naruto, you can press square, and do a full neutral combo. And then a character like Rock Lee, you could press square, and do a neutral combo. But both of those combos are going to look very, very different. When you do Naruto's combos, you're going to see a lot of like cool animations of his shadow clones joining in and adding onto the combos, helping him charge up a Rasengan for a final finishing blow. When you do Rock Lee's combo, you're going to see him do a lot of taijutsu and martial arts, flipping around and kicking you around, and before he does that finishing wah blow. And you can also say Jump Force does that. It does, but it doesn't do it as well. I don't think they put a lot of commitment into those combat animations. So unless you're really paying attention to how those combat animations look different from each character, sure they are different, but it's not different enough, if that makes any sense for you. Like I said, every combo starts off on the ground and then it transfers them up into the air. You keep comboing, blah, 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 blah. And every character can kind of do that. There doesn't feel like anything very unique with someone's combo, unless you get like one of those zoom in cutscene hits like, oh, he punched him in the gut. Oh, he like did a hammer fist down on his back. Something like that. So those details are few and far between. Oh, he has a sword. You know, shit of that nature. And that's another thing. Melee characters' combos look exactly the same. Sword characters' combos almost look exactly the same. Shit of that nature. And it starts to get really stale really fast. Whereas with Storm 4, you may say like, oh, the battle system gets really stale for me sometimes. And it does for me too. But at least I have a visual spectacle to look at. At least I can say like, oh, that jutsu looks really cool. Oh, I like the way he does that. Zabuza, for example. Zabuza moves at a decent speed. His sword combos move really slow, but you feel the weight at every hit of his sword swing, and you could get to see every detail of each sword attack he does. Whereas with a sword character like Ichigo, and maybe like, well, better example, maybe like Zoro, Kenshin, Asta and Ichigo, shit like that, they all kind of feel the same. Like, oh, they have katana, so they kind of feel the same. Oh, they have like these bigger swords, so they kind of feel the same. Zabuza and like Soigetsu from Naruto, for instance, in Storm 4, both use a big ass sword. Feels and looks very, very, very different from each other because they employ very different fighting styles from each other. And that's the problem with Jump Force as well. You have all these characters from all these different animes with all these different fighting styles. And for some reason, you couldn't really incorporate the feel or look of those varying fighting styles within the characters in this game. It's like they just kind of copy and pasted models and combos together, and then when everyone had like the same kind of just base combo looks, they slightly altered them to tailor them to their characters. So you can test this out for yourself. If you have Jump Force, you can go, if you have Game Pass, you can download Jump Force for free and check this out for yourself. But all the combos just kind of feel that way. The only thing that kind of breaks off from that sameness is the fact that they're special moves. And also with Xenoverse 2, a lot of people always are like, yeah, Xenoverse 2, you just button mash, same button over and over again. But what people don't understand is there are different combos for these different characters depending on what you know. And they can do some drastically different stuff. Am I saying Xenoverse 2 is super intricate and super unique and detailed? No, not at all. It's very easy to pick up and learn. But there's different combos, and each character will do something corresponding to these different button presses. All the button presses, everyone has the same, like, you can press square to do a neutral, but those neutrals might be different. Like Goku will boom, 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 and all these rapid kicks and punches and do a final punch that sends you flying. Vegeta's combos are shorter. He'll do heavier looking hits, and then at the end, like, do a kick that knocks you into the ground, or do a hammer fist that knocks you into the ground. So they lead to different setups depending on their special moves list and their fighting style. So even though you press the same buttons for every character, it leads to different combos being executed based on that character's actual fighting style. So same thing with their grabs. Goku's grab is like a dragon throw, so he spins you around and then tosses you away. You kind of go spinning and you're like floating in the air, so it kind of can leave you vulnerable to an extra attack. And then Trunks, his ultimate move is Heat Dome Attack. So Heat Dome Attack, he shoots a powerful blast of energy up into the air, and it can kind of go diagonal, but it doesn't go like down or sideways. But Trunks' throw, he grabs you and throws you up into the air, and then you're kind of floating. So he throws you, and then he does Heat Dome Attack. Especially if you're too high up and you're at like kind of like the border, like the ceiling of a level, you're going to stop short. So if he's close to you in the ceiling and tosses you and starts up Heat Dome Attack, you're going to be stuck in that initial energy and then just get hit by the ultimate altogether. So you get what I'm saying, right? There's like different things you can incorporate to these characters to make unique combos, and everyone feels different. Krillin feels different from Tien. Gohan feels different from fucking Piccolo. Piccolo feels very unique because he's Green Man with the stretchy arms. You know? And even the created characters. Even the created characters have more varied movesets than the created characters in Jump Force. Jump Force, you can choose from one of 3 fighting styles. Now 4, they added a sword style with an update, so good on them for doing that. I feel like that should have been in base game. I feel like they should have way more fighting styles than the amount of fighting styles they have. But we'll get into that when I talk about things they can improve on. Whereas Xenoverse, your character's combo style and their combo strings depend on your race and your gender. So you can be a Saiyan, an Earthling, a Namekian, a Frieza race, or a Majin. And depending on which of these 5 races you pick, your combo strings will be different. Not only that, but Earthlings, Saiyans, and Majins, you can have a male gender or a female gender. And those 2 genders will have different combo strings depending on their characters. Because those characters, races, and gender vary upon their stats. Saiyans get stronger when their health is lower. Saiyans get stronger when they revive after being KO'd. Namekians have auto health regeneration and sturdier defense. Majins get a defense boost when their stamina is full. Earthlings do such and such as on and on and on and on. And everything feels more unique. So, depending on what characters you know how to play, you can take advantage of the loops in their combo strings or other certain aspects like that to chain into their special moves. HiK, for example, is excellent for physical combos. HiK, when he first came out, I'm not talking about like the update for HiK Awoken, just even like initial HiK was really fucking good because of his good ass combo strings that you could really take advantage of and loop around. So right then and there you see that HiK is a very unique character that doesn't play like the other characters, because all the characters do that. They don't play like the other characters. Jump Force, I feel like you can pick up and play anyone and not really struggle learning how to play that character because they all play so similar. And the special moves, back to that, that's the only thing that really breaks away from that immersion of just like, well, not immersion, from that sameness, that same combo vibe feeling. And that's fine and good. That's actually a good factor of it. Like, oh, cool, Kamehameha. Oh, cool, Red Hawk. Oh, cool, Chidori. Shit like that. So you have your different combos, and then you can unlock skills for your CACs and use them like that. But overall, that's not really enough to vary the battle system, because then at that point, it's just like everyone has the same combo strings. Whose special moves do I like the best? It's not really a matter of like, is this character really good or not? It's just kind of like, who fucking cares? I don't really hear much about tier lists being made in Jump Force either. Even in Xenoverse and Storm, they have character tier lists because there are characters that just play way better than others. Like I said, for example, in Xenoverse 2, you had HiK when he first became available in Xenoverse 2. When you unlock him, great fucking character, great combo strings. And then you have characters like Teen Gohan, especially in Xenoverse 2, suffered because even though he can go Super Saiyan 2 and all that shit, it's supposed to be epic, he has these little arms for these 3D character models, so his reach was shortened. Whis is also a good character because his staff has such good reach. He can poke people and prod at them, so it actually was to his benefit in Xenoverse and in Xenoverse 2. So there's things like that. And even in Storm, take example, one of the best Narutos in Storm 4 is KCM2 Naruto, the second chakra cloak, where he kind of has the big jagged over himself too in the chakra form. That is like the best Naruto in the game, arguably, I'd say. Six Paths Naruto, who's supposed to be like Naruto at his peak during the war and maybe like peak in general, is not a good fucking character in Storm 4. He's slow, which makes no sense because he's supposed to be blitz lightning fast speed at that point. He blitzed Madara when he first got Six Path stage mode. And he just moves really slow. He's really floaty because he floats around. His combos move really slow. Whereas KCM2 Naruto not only is super fucking fast, his combos move lightning quick. So you can combo cancel into a new combo very easily. You can combo cancel into a jutsu or an ultimate very easily. You can, if somebody tries to break out of your combo, you can lock them back in very, very quickly. He's all about being fast-paced and keeping you locked in so you can't escape from him. Whereas with Six Patch Sage Naruto, all his combos are really big spectacles, and visually they look really cool, but they're so easy to get out of because he's such a slow character. So even though Six Paths Naruto is the stronger version of Naruto, KCM2 Naruto in Storm 4 is the better character to play. So, and then you have characters that are just straight trash, like Kid Rock Lee is better than Shippuden Rock Lee in Storm 4. Kid Rock Lee is fucking great. He's fast as hell. Speed plays a major factor in Storm 4. So the faster your character is, the better of an advantage you'll probably have because you move so much quicker than your opponent, which is why you need supports. And another thing about Jump Force, its support system seems to be completely fucking unnecessary. One thing that I really don't like about Jump Force is that every battle has to be 3v3. Unless you're playing like specific story battles where it's like a 1v1 or a 2v2 or a 2v3 or some shit like that. Every battle has to be 3v3, but there's no real benefit in having like a team dynamic in Jump Force. You know how when games are like built to have a team thing, it's built to be like a tag team or a trio, or you can do like duos or trios or solo, and there's certain aspects of these battle modes that vary depending on what you pick. Jump Force, you could have a 1v1 in Jump Force and it would play exactly the same as if you had a 3v3. The only difference would be that you didn't have supports and you couldn't switch out. There's no fucking other benefit from it. And you can argue, well, isn't that how like all games are? But I'll say this, Dragon Ball FighterZ is built to be a 3v3 game. Just because, think about how their health bars work. Those health bars in Fighters can go down really fucking quick. So when they added like a mode where you could do 1v1s and 2v2s, well, that was really cool and I'm glad they did it. It's not really practical because they didn't adjust the health for the lack of team members. So an actual 1 versus 1 player match, like I've done it before against like a CPU just to try it out in fighters. Those fights end in like seconds. Like I've ended a fight in like 10 seconds because their health isn't that high. So you immediately fucking obliterate them. If you get them locked into one combo in fighters like that, you'll kill that character. So it's built upon having a team system because you want to switch out. You want to use support attacks to extend your combos. You want to use your supports because if you do a super move, you can call in your support and then they'll do a super move when you switch in, or you can even call in your support to do an ultimate attack when they switch in. You get what I'm saying? And then you have like your burst, so the less people you have on your team, the longer your burst lasts and the stronger it is. Shit of that nature. And the game is built upon that system of having teammates, or benefits for having lack thereof teammates, and the pressure of that. So if you say, like, for example, you're playing a fighters match and you take out 2 of the person's teammates. Now they don't have the benefit of having supports to extend their combos, but maybe this is when they activate their little burst attack thing, so their health is going back up a lot faster and a lot more manageable, and it lasts a lot longer because there's less people on their team. So they can try to turn the tide of battle by using that. It's all about perspective. Same thing with Storm 4. People would argue that Storm 4, you could practically do the same thing without a support too, so what's the point? But Storm 4 gives you benefits to having team members. There's something called the Storm Gauge. The Storm Gauge is a meter that fills up during a battle when you're taking damage or dealing damage, so the more you're in battle, the more it happens. When it fills up to about halfway, I believe, you start getting like benefits, and every character has a specific support benefit. So say your Storm Gauge is up and these effects start activating. Like say someone's support benefit is guard. So when you're charging up your chakra, instead of being left open for an attack while you're charging up, one of that support character will jump in front of you and defend you against attacks. So the enemy suddenly, at least initially, can't hit you with an attack immediately because they're blocking. Some characters like Naruto's, their support thing is strike back or strike attack or something like that. So you'll do a combo, let's say this knocks the person away. As they're going flying back, that support character will jump out and hit that person, so then they bounce up on the ground and you can take advantage of that and do another combo and keep comboing on them. You can do a shuriken attack, and maybe someone's support is that they aid, so then you have extra damage and extra shurikens thrown when you do that. So there's a lot more, already with that alone, there's a lot more benefits with that. And even though in Storm, just like in Jump Force, you share health bar and chakra, there's also battle damage in Jump Force. Or not in Jump Force, in Storm 4. So in Storm 4, when a specific character takes too much battle damage, they get an armor break. So an armor break sometimes is more visual than others. Like sometimes their clothes shatter. Like with Pain, like his Akatsuki cloak will be ripped down so you can see half his like chest, shit like that. Some other characters that didn't fight a lot and didn't show a lot of battle damage stuff, they might just get bruised up and stuff like that. But when you get an armor break, you take more damage, but you can also deal more damage. The thing about armor breaks is that when one character gets an armor break, the other two don't. So let's say, oh, I don't really want to take a lot of damage right now, even though I'm armor broken. Let me switch to another character whose armor is still up. So now you won't take more damage to the shared health bar you all have. Also, with the Storm Gauge, there's Team Ultimate Jutsu attacks. So if you want like a cool visualized finish, you can activate your Team Ultimate Jutsu and do these cool ass tag team attacks that are a visual spectacle, which is Storm 4's forte. That's what the CC2 specialized in. Despite as much shit as I give Storm 4, it has a lot of merits. It's fun to play with your homies, and it's visually pleasing to the eyes. So when you have those team battles, it's like, oh, that's fucking neat. Look at all of that. So there's benefits to having that. BlazBlue Cross Tag is another thing. That game is made to be a tag game. Its controls are very simple for individual characters, but when you learn about like a lot of the tag stuff involved in those combos, those are the things that are a lot more intricate in commands and doing certain inputs. So that game is built upon that, which is why it doesn't have a 1v1 mode, because those battles will be too short and the combos are too basic and simple. I'm talking so much, my throat's drying out, Jesus. But, so, see the benefits of all of that? Jump Force has none of that. Jump Force is the same despite being a 1v1 or a 3v3. Like I said, literally the only difference it adds is team, it's the only thing it adds to having the 3v3 as opposed to like a 1v1 is that there are support attacks and you can switch characters. But it doesn't even benefit from switching characters because you all share the same health bar, and unlike fighters. And then there's no like team attacks or support special actions like in Storm 4. So what is the point? Now, I'm not saying it doesn't necessarily need to be there. You can do it like how Xenoverse 3 does it. In Xenoverse 3, I wish there was a Xenoverse 3. In Xenoverse 2. In Xenoverse 2 and in Xenoverse 1, you could do 1v1s, you could do 2v2s, you could do 3v3s, and you could choose. And you could have your team of 3 battling, and it'd be you and like, if you're playing locally, like maybe 2 CPUs, if you're playing online, 2 of your homies. You didn't necessarily need to do 2v2s or 3v3s, and there's not really like huge benefits to doing them. In Xenoverse 2, there was an update like a year and a half ago, which added like team ultimate finishes, or team ultimate attacks. So that's cool, you could do that stuff now. And limit burst got added, and they kind of work like burst in fighters, but they have different benefits tailored to Xenoverse 2. So those things, regardless if you hate or love those aspects exist, so even then there's still more benefits to doing team battles in Xenoverse 2 than there are in Jump Force. But even if you weren't considering those, the benefit, if there was no benefit in having like 2v2s or 3v3s in Xenoverse 2 like that as in Jump Force, at least you could choose to not do them. You could just do like a regular ass 1v1 match. You wouldn't have to do a 2v2 or a 3v3. And granted, they're different fighting systems because the 3v3s and the 2v2s in Xenoverse, everyone's on the battlefield at the same time instead of switching between characters. But even still, you get what I'm saying? It's just like, why not give us the option to just have a 1 character versus 1 character match? What is really so hard about that? It's not like they would drastically have to change any aspect to the battle system whatsoever. That could be a free update. Easily. No fucking problem. That could be an update. You could be like, okay, cool. You can do 1v1s now. You can do 2v2s now. You don't have to... You can do 1 versus 3. Like, so let's say the opponent wanted supports and you didn't. You could do that if you really want to. Shit like that. There's nothing that really hurts the battle system at its core in Jump Force to not warrant that being a thing. And I don't understand why it's not a thing. And that's one thing that hurts Jump Force. It's so locked into this one specific battle system that's so bland and empty, and there's no variety to it. So not even having that little extra bit really costed a lot of points in terms of its battle system. Now, the only time I can really say I had fun, truly had fun playing this battle system, was when I was playing with friends. Unfortunately, at this point, I don't have a lot of friends that play Jump Force anymore, so I don't have any desire to play it. Online is a big fucking cheese fest because it's so easy to cheese moves and combos in this game. The only way you're going to beat your opponent is if you can out-spam and out-cheese them, because that's how everyone was raised to play the game, through playing the CPU in the story mode. This story mode is so ass. It is so bad. Now, what I was getting at was, a lot of people that like Jump Force and get mad if you say Jump Force is bad or Jump Force sucks, their argument to this is, man, you guys should have known this game wasn't going to be all great for a story or this feature or that feature, da-da-da-da-da. It's just a game made where you can play with your friends, da-da-da-da-da-da. True. I will say true, granted, like, yeah, at the end of the day, if you're having fun with your friends, all that other shit shouldn't matter. However, if you make a game and you offer different modes, like a story mode, like a mission mode, with a variety of different characters and character customization in this aspect and that aspect and yada yada yada, then I expect all of that to be good. I expect all of that to have an equal amount of attention. Just because you don't care if the story mode's going to be good or not doesn't mean that the story mode should just be bad. You put a story mode in, so I'm going to count that. I'm going to judge that. If you didn't want me to judge your shitty story mode, don't put a shitty story mode in the game. Don't even put a story mode in the game. The game didn't need a story mode. You didn't need a reason why all these characters were gathered together, fighting together. It could have just been a crossover fighting game. We don't need a reason, an in-world reason as to why. So that's my argument against that. You put it in your game, so I'm going to criticize it. If it's bad, it is bad. Just like with Storm 4, people are like, well, who cares about Storm 4's story? All that matters is online. First of all, the online of Storm 4, I believe, is still fucking ass after like years. Even the Switch version. I bought the Switch version just because I missed playing Storm 4, and I knew what I was getting into at that point. And honestly, if you wanted like a full Naruto Storm experience, for $50 to get all that is a good deal. At the time when Storm 4 came out, though, it was a huge letdown because of all these features that weren't up to par. Story mode of Storm 4 is not fucking good. I'm going to criticize it. I don't care if it doesn't matter to you. They put it in the game. If I think it's bad, I'm going to tell you it's bad, and that's going to hurt your game's experience as a whole. Storm 4 does not have good online. Storm 4's story mode is very meh. You're only going to want to play it once, and then you'll never want to fucking touch it again. Adventure mode is ass. The Boruto expansion story mode is very whatever. You're going to criticize it. Like I said, I like Storm 4 personally as just, playing a battle with my friends, but if I'm criticizing it as a game, it did not meet my expectations as a full experience. It's gonna be the same thing with Jump Force. The problem with Jump Force's story is, first of all, it's fucking boring. It is boring. The story of Jump Force is so fucking uninteresting, not unique, and completely predictable. These heroes and villains start popping up in the real world. Your character, you see him from a first-person point of view. You're playing. Frieza's attacking the city. You get hurt in like the crossfire and nearly die. Trunks puts this cube into you, it saves you, and you join the Jump Force. You have these powers, you can become a hero and help fight. Blah, 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 blah. So you go around the world recruiting all these various people that got brought into your world, and you fight against the villains. Every story chapter is almost exactly the same. You run into a group of villains, you fight them off. Okay. Here's how it goes. Granted, with updates, the load times of this game definitely have improved. I even noticed when I replayed it the other day that it felt like it played a lot better than it used to. But the load times are still ass. And at launch, these load times were really fucking bad. You would be waiting forever for anything to load. If you logged into the game and you were waiting to get to the lobby, you were waiting. If you went to do a mission or a free battle or a side quest, you were waiting for a while. If you, after that battle, then you did a cutscene. Then you would wait for it to load to do your battle. Then if you lost that battle and had to retry it, you had to wait for that load for it to reload. Then after you finish the battle, I think you waited for it to load again. Then you get a cutscene to end it all. Then you waited for it to load again to send you back to the lobby. So one fight could eat up so much fucking time, especially if you lost, because then you had to do it again. So, first of all, there's already that going on, and it's fucking rampant and annoying. So you go do a story mission, right? You wait like minutes for this shit to load up to show you this cutscene, this very stale, shitty shot cutscene of just camera angles going back and forth. The story is very uninteresting. It's like, oh, go here because we saw such and such and such and such here. Then you wait for it to load. You get to that area. There's another cutscene. Oh, such and da 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 da. Oh, we're gonna fight these bad guys. Then it loads, and you wait a couple minutes for it. Then the battle starts. Then you play the repetitive battle system. then God forbid you lose because you gotta wait for this shit to load again to retry this fucking battle. If you win, you wait, they do their back and forth, da-da-da-da-da. I shit you not, every time you get into an encounter with any fucking villain on this game, after the fight, the villain just leaves. They just fucking leave. And whatever reason, you have to let them escape or they get away. Frieza floats into the sky, all still in his T-pose, into the heavens. They always get away. No matter fucking what. I don't know why. I don't know why they thought this was cool. Maybe every once in a while the villain escapes or some shit like that. Fine. Maybe they didn't want any like characters actually dying. But you know what? I'm gonna get to that to improve the game. But it was just like every fucking chapter, it's just like, oh my god, they're gonna get away. I already can predict what's going to happen in this story chapter. They're gonna fucking get away. We're gonna fight them, and then they're gonna leave after saying a bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter. Because you know what the story was? I don't even know. Because I guess this villain, I think his name's Prometheus or whatever, he was trying to gain all this power, and he was actually like the director dude that was helping you in the Jump Force, but you could kind of predict that it was gonna be him because they both got weird looking fucking necks, and they both looked like they was scheming. And then you had the original characters that were villains. Both of them were fucking boring. I guess the only time the girl one, I forget her name, was interesting was when she was in disguise and she was playing Sanji. That was the best part of the story, taking advantage of the quirk that Sanji has like a huge thing for just any woman anywhere. That was a good idea. When they followed all the way through and it was done, I was just like, wow, that was it? What a fucking waste of time, because everything just goes immediately back to normal within one chapter. The second villain, who you think is the boss but isn't the true boss, he was only interesting right up to near the end of the story mode, where you're just like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, I guess. And then the last villain, Prometheus, his design is fucking awful. I think Toriyama designed these characters. They don't look that good. I usually love Toriyama's character designs. I did not like the way any of these characters looked. Especially Prometheus. Like, the two other villains, like the girl and the boy, they can get away. I think maybe the graphic style hurt their designs a little bit too, just because I don't like the way the graphics look very much in this game. So they can maybe get away with it. Prometheus looks fucking god-awful. I hated the way he looked. Looked like a nasty roach. He looked like an original fanfic OC for a Dragon Ball Z story arc. That's what it looked like. And then you beat Prometheus, and then the Jump Force keeps doing what the Jump Force keeps doing. I don't know. I didn't fucking care. I remember back when I was streaming the game, and it just got to the point where the only reason why I wanted to finish was because I was just like, just pull through. You're almost done. And by the time I finished it, it just felt like a weight was lifted off of me. Like, oh, thank God. I never have to fucking do this again. And I didn't have to do it. I felt like I had to do it. Because I was like, dude, you're almost done. Just finish this fucking story. Not to mention that in some cutscenes, where not even a lot was going on in the cutscenes, the cutscenes would lag. Like, they would move so slow and be all choppy and frail. I'm just like, this shit looks awful. What's happening? They're just standing there talking or barely moving. And it just slows down. I'm just like, how? And then there's this whole, like, subplot going on with, I wouldn't even call it a subplot, more of a just, like, an aspect of the main plot where, like, some of the good guys are getting taken over, by, like, evil, and you have to fight against them to snap them out of it, and other shit, and then there's clones of them, too, and they're evil, and it was just, like, a lot of shit going on, but it was so, like, not memorable, because it wasn't interesting at all. It was just, like, this villain's trying to do this with all the power of all these different worlds, and this and that, and then you beat Prometheus, but you don't really beat all the other anime bad guys. And it felt like a story mode for the sake of a story mode. And I feel like if your story mode's going to be that, don't even make it. Don't even make it. It's such a waste of time. Such a waste of time. That's it for the story. That's it. I have nothing else to say about it. You get injured when like all the anime characters come into the real world. They save you. You become. You join the Jump Force. You go on the same generic story mission every time. When it looks like, oh, and it looked like something was going to be going on with Light and Ryuk, because they're there too. But Light doesn't have his Death Note or anything, and that goes absolutely fucking nowhere. It goes nowhere. Nowhere. Nothing happens. It's like they were just like, fuck it. Maybe they thought they were going to make enough money for an expansion. Then again, if they have enough money to port it to the Switch and make a Season 2 pass, they might have been able to make it. I don't know. But it was a waste of fucking time. It was like a red herring. Like, oh, Light's going to do something. And he doesn't do anything. And people were so hyped for Light. They were like, oh, fuck, what's Light going to do? Before the game came out, nothing. That's what he does, guys. He does fucking nothing. That's it for the story mode. There's nothing else to talk about because nothing fucking happened. It was a waste of a couple hours. And you don't even need to play the story mode to unlock the characters. All the characters are unlocked from the start, which is something I do kind of prefer with a lot of games like this. Just give me all the characters. Maybe like boss characters, like a couple of those you unlock by playing the story. That's fine. But also, they said that the girl and like the dude that aren't Prometheus, like the other two villains, were going to be playable characters. They were not playable. They became playable later as DLC. It was free DLC, mind you, because you know damn well they knew better than to try to pay us for characters they said were going to be in the game. But the problem with that was, they never said they'd be playable as DLC characters at a later date. They said they'd be playable. So everyone expected, like, oh, when you beat the game, you'll unlock them. You don't. You have to wait for them to update the game way fucking later. They didn't become available till... By the time they were available to play, nobody gave a fuck about Jump Force anymore. Same thing with the Season Pass. By the time, like, a lot of these characters came out later, like Grimmjow and Madara and all that stuff, nobody fucking cared. I didn't care. I haven't even played as all the DLC characters. And I was excited for them. I was excited to play it. I played as like All Might, Biscuit, and who else came in that first Season Pass? Was it Grimmjow? I don't even remember. See? I don't even remember. I haven't played as Bakugo. I haven't played as Toshiro. I haven't played as Law. I haven't played as Majin Buu. Because I just lost interest in the game. And then the Season 2 pass that came out when they announced Jump Force for the Switch, they try to goat people in. Like, they're just like, look, we have Todoroki now. I don't give a fuck. Todoroki is One's Justice 2, which is a much better game. I'm not even going to say arguably. It's a much better game. Is it the greatest game on Earth? No, but it's a much better way to spend your money than buying Jump Force. I'll still even say that. It's a much more exciting and fun game. Where you can do 1v1s. I don't think you have to do team battles on that. No, I think you do need supports. I think you do. No, you don't. You don't need supports. You can do a battle mode without supports. But those supports add aspects to the battle system of the game. So, again, another game of like a sidekick or a team battle system. More necessary than Jump Force's. God damn it, Jump Force, you failing! I didn't want to trash on it. I'm trying to be fair. I tried to point out some good things. But there's not a lot. Even like the best thing people argue about its battle system being fun, it's not really that fun. People that say Jump Force's battle system is fun are the ones that talk about how Storm 4 and Xenoverse 2 are boring. But those games' battle systems are much more unique, fun, and exciting than Jump Force's. And they're not even super unique. But they have more aspects that are fine-tuned and tailored to the experience overall to give you a much more exciting time and a lot more variety than Jump Force ever could. Which is sad because Jump Force should have more variety since it's an anime crossover fighting game. So features. This game has story mode, which it fucking sucks. It has a free battle mode, which is exactly what it is, a free battle mode. You can't really fuck that up, for the offline at least. Online, the problem with online, like I said, a lot of cheese involved. And until an update that came out around the time I think Bakugo got released as a DLC character, this is months later. I think Kaiba came out with the Season 1 characters, or the first wave of characters from the first character pass. It was All Might, Biscuit, and Kaiba. Kaiba was cool. I like Kaiba. But anywho, what was I talking about? The online? There wasn't a rematch option for online. How the fuck do you have a fighting game that doesn't have an online rematch option? How? Granted, they fixed their mistake, and I'm always the type of person to say, no use crying over spilled milk. What's done is done. They fixed it. If you fix it later, I'm still gonna fault you on not having it in the first place, but I will credit you for fixing your mistake. Good on you. Thank you for adding a rematch option. That's the only good thing they've done for Jump Force since it launched. You have the side missions. These are probably the best times you'll get character interactions ever in the entire game, is during the side missions. And sometimes there'll be certain like dialogue from the main story that doesn't have voice acting, but then the side missions will have voice acting? What? And then you can't skip cutscenes. I think they added an option later where you can skip. I didn't touch any story or missions when I replayed the game because there wasn't a point. But I think they added an option to skip them. But in the original, like when the game launched, you could not skip cutscenes. So you had to wait through the loading screens and the fucking cutscenes you did not care about, because who cares? Some of the character interactions were really interesting. Like there's one, I think it's a side mission with Kenshin and like a lot of other sword characters like Zoro and shit on the beach. And even though Kenshin doesn't have like superpowers or anything like that, they were all still impressed by his swordsmanship, because at the end of the day, he's still like a master swordsman. And I thought that was really cool. Like a lot of the character crossover interactions were cool. And I feel like what they should, you know what, we'll get into it. But features wise, that's it. There's not a lot left you can really do. And with the mission mode, you kind of want a lot of interesting stuff with it, because that's probably what's going to be what holds people over once they're finished with the story mode. It was generic as fuck, besides like a lot of some of the character interactions that were kind of cool here and there. There wasn't really anything else special about it. And so it's nothing to write home about. So features aside, that was it. That's everything I can really judge it upon. Oh, character creation. One thing I want to say about the character creation, I think it's a step in the right direction. One thing I will say that I like better about Jump Force's character creation stuff over Xenoverse's is that everything you can unlock for your character, like clothes and skills, you can just buy. Granted, you gotta kind of grind for money on that game. You can just buy it. It's guaranteed that you can just buy it. In Xenoverse, you can buy a certain amount of skills in certain, plenty of outfits, but certain clothes and certain skills you have to get from random RNG drops from side missions. I fucking hate that shit. I hate RNG in Xenoverse 2. It's way better than Xenoverse 1's, but it's still really bad. And now you can do like this dual mission raid online to much more easily grind for skills you haven't unlocked yet from Parallel Quest, which is what I did. The last 6 skills I needed that are currently out in the game, I got from doing that. And I, instead of like spending hours on these Parallel Quests, I spent like maybe like 35 to 40 minutes total on these dual raids, and I got all the skills I needed. So just a heads up for all my Xenoverse 2 players, if you try to get the rest of your skills, do the dual raid boss mode thing. You'll get skill drops almost every fucking time, guaranteed, I promise you. But that was an update. That was an in-base game. So I'm gonna have to fault them for that still, because thank you for having an alternative option, but that came out like over 2 years after the game launched. So, you know what I mean? Like, but still, But one thing I credit Jump Force for is there's no RNG in that department. When you get something, and you can just buy it. That's about it. That's the only thing I can benefit from its character creation. I feel like in terms of overall scope of like character creation settings and especially clothing, I wish they added a lot more variety. I hate the fact that you have to buy individual colors for clothes. I wish if I got a top, I could just choose whatever colors. Even if they were all still just preset colors, I wish I could just choose a preset color. Like, say you have Vegeta's original, like, armor chest piece, like the top. Let's say you wanted a red one. You have to buy that red one individually. It's fucking annoying. So, stuff like that. But overall, the idea of just being able to just buy whatever you need instead of having to grind and pray to the RNG gods that it'll drop for you. Thank you. So, another good thing. There are some good little aspects of the game, but overall, it's very, very, very lacking. And I feel like, I think I've done my part in explaining why. I did bash on it. I tried not to trash on it too hard, but I had to do it to him. But this is going on for a long time. This went on a lot longer than I thought. We're like 2 hours and 15 minutes deep into recording official audio. But last thing I want to talk about real quick are just a few things added onto the game that could just make the overall experience of the game so much better, in my personal opinion. And so to start off, one thing I think would just make the game overall a lot more fun to play if we're going in that direction. This game is not going to be competitive. I never expected it to. I'm not going to fault it for not being competitive because it was never advertised to be competitive. It's just a fun fighting game. To make it more fun, though, add a 1v1 mode, add a 1v2 mode, add a 2v, add it so that you don't necessarily need supports for battle. And for offline and for online. I feel like at least that little added bit of variety will, in the long run, help the longevity of the game in terms of like, oh, cool, we can just run this or run this set. Tournament mode, maybe? Do they have tournament mode? Maybe like an online setup thing for official participation. But like maybe in your little battle mode for either for an online lobby with your friends or just offline against the CPU or local, you can have a tournament mode, so you can have brackets. And let us be able to watch the tournament fights, because they do have CPU versus CPU versus. And I like that in fighting games, because sometimes I just like dicking around and watching the characters fight each other. But that's besides the point. Just little minute details, because I feel at this point, the only thing they can do to really make me say Jump Force becomes a little better and more worthwhile is just adding aspects that make the game more fun. I know over the course of the game's release, they've added more like skills you can buy. Not a lot, but a couple more, which you can buy from characters that aren't even necessarily in the game. Like, they have Sanosuke Sagata from Rurouni Kenshin. He's not in the game, but they added his move, the Mastery of Two Layers. Awesome. Thank you for doing that. I love that move. One of my favorite moves in all of manga and anime. Krillin's Destructo Dish, shit like that. So add more of that. Do more updates. Do more, like, even make like full-on packs from like certain anime, regardless of if they have representatives in the game or not. Like, do a Yu Yu Hakusho pack that would have like Hiei skills, Kurama skills, Kuwabara skills, and shit like that. So even if those characters aren't necessarily in the game, our CACs can use those skills. I think that would be cool, and it would benefit your battle system overall, especially if you have like the variety of 1v1s and 2v2s and like a tournament mode. So just little things like that. And I feel like these updates would be easy to do, especially the 1v1 thing. I feel like that isn't hard to implement at all. Online tournament thing, maybe a little harder. Offline tournament thing, I feel would be pretty simple to do. Adding more skills is something they're already doing, but I feel like they should do it at a more rapid rate, even if you have to charge for them. Like I said with that Yu Yu Hakusho pack, for example. Let's say that's $5, but you get like 4 or 5 skills from each of those characters, and there's like 4 or 5 characters in it. Let's say Hiei, Kurama, Kuwabara, Genkai, and Sensui. All their skills are all available in that pack. Boom, 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 boom. You get these skills. That's fucking cool. Neat. Another thing they can do, add more CAC fighting styles. Like I said at launch, they only had like 3. You could be like a style based off of Goku's fighting style, a style based off of Luffy's fighting style, and a style based off of Naruto's fighting style. Because you choose what team you want to be in the Jump Force. You can join Goku, Luffy, or Naruto's. And certain characters will be involved in like certain cutscenes and shit like that when you choose a specific team. But it really wasn't that important. But those are the only 3 fighting styles you could choose for a CAC. You can create up to like 8 CACs, so I don't see why they, at bare minimum, didn't have at least 8 styles. They could have had a sword style from the jump. They had a character, I forget his name, he's from an anime called City Hunter. He specialized in artillery, like guns and whatnot, so they could have had a gun style. That's already 2 more right there, so that's 5. They have JoJo in there. They could have added like a basic, like generic stand model kind of thing that does like rapid punches and other stuff like that. Boom, that's 6 styles right there. Maybe just like a bare bones like Street Fighter style that wasn't necessarily like full on Dragon Ball Z martial arts. Boom, 7 styles. What else? What else is in the game? Yu-Gi-Oh! They could have added a basic dual monster style or some kind of card system. They could have added more fight style models. Another thing they could also do to help add variety to the CACs is have like maybe specialized missions with involving each of the characters in the roster. And if you complete these missions, you unlock some kind of item or something that you can equip or select to yourself that gives you that specific character's exact fighting style. So Dio's moves, for example, Dio and Jotaro's moves are not available for your CAC to learn because they involve you having a stand. You don't have a stand, so you can't use these moves. Let's say you do a mission involving Jotaro and you finish it, and you unlock Jotaro's fighting style. So when you equip this item, you can use Star Platinum. You have Star Platinum's fighting style, you can use Star Platinum's moves. So at the very least, if they don't add more specific CAC-based fighting styles based on different anime characters, you could do that and just have your CAC be based off of that. Like, let's say, for instance, my favorite character in One Piece is Sanji. So I had a couple of Sanji moves on my main CAC. Let's say I wanted Sanji's exact fighting style. I just want that kick fighting style. I can unlock an item that equip it to Sanji. I can unlock an item that when I equip it, I have Sanji's fighting style. And maybe his movesets. Or even equipping these items just gives you that character's movesets, but you could still equip different skills from other characters. Adding even more variety to your playstyle. Let's say you want a Goku fighting style, but you want moves that Naruto or like even Ichigo have. You can add that in. So let's say you're doing like Goku style combos, but then you finish it with a Rasengan. Shit like that. Already we've added a lot more explosive variety to your CACs. Another thing with the CACs, you don't have to add more than 8 slots. I feel like 8 slots is enough. I would love more slots, especially like with Xenoverse 2. I love more than 8, but they have 8 slots because they give you enough slots to make a character for each race and all the genders, for the races that have more the male and female genders. So you have 8 files. One thing that I think they should add in that I'm glad Xenoverse 2 did was you can access all your CACs from one character profile. So if back in Xenoverse 1 and before the update in Xenoverse 2, say if I selected to play as my male Earthling in Xenoverse 2, I couldn't go to like a free battle or like do a parallel quest and select my female Sand. I would have to go to my female Sand's profile and select her. So I couldn't have them fight against each other. I couldn't have my CACs go on missions together. And I feel like that was a big waste and kind of a letdown because it's so cool to have like your CACs interact with each other, even if it is just like in battles and parallel quests and stuff like that. So they updated it a while back where you could access your other 7 CACs from one profile. And the only thing you would have to do is level up that CAC. And there's ways to cheese the level up so you don't have to play through the story mode. So when you make a new CAC, you can cheese your way up to... You just spend Zenny to level them up every time, and then eventually you gotta spend like the special TP metal currency, but even those are easy to grind. So if you wanted to grind that character up to level 99 really fast, you could, no problem. And you could take them out on parallel quests with you. Or let's say you're on your male Earthling profile and you're like, oh, we're doing this raid. You want like someone who has strong key ultimates to help in the raid to spam key ultimates, and so you need your like female Sand or something like that. you can go to your character select and just select the female Sand instead of having to switch whole profiles before going through it. So one thing Jump Force could benefit from is having that same thing, like being able to select your other CACs from one profile. Like if I select my profile 1 CAC, let's say I want to make a team with my profile 2 and profile 3 CAC along with my profile 1, then I could make that team of fully created characters. And let's say like they mix and match fighting styles like I was talking about before. So my main one has like Sanji's fighting style, but he can also do like Red Hawk and Destructo Disc and the Mastery of 2 Layers and some shit like that. And one of them has like a sword fighting style, but they could also use Chidori and like Lightning Blade and Aizen's like Kido and shit. And one of them has like a Dio style, but then he's using like Yu-Gi-Oh card special moves, like shit like that. Just make it fun, dude. Especially if you're not gonna make it balanced, who cares? Make it more fun. That would benefit your battle system being your main strong selling point for your game. Add variety, go all out. I feel like a problem with a lot of these anime games is sometimes I feel like they're too scared to just go all in and just do a bunch of ridiculous shit. Do it. Not if it's an arena fighter, people already aren't expecting it to be very competitive to begin with, so just make it fun. The fun factor and the fact that it's an anime, so people will buy off of it because they like the specific anime or multiple anime, in this case with Jump Force, they'll look over that lack of competitiveness because they're just like, well, I can just play around with my friends and have a good time with all these random characters and our random CACs with all these mix match moves. And that's something I feel like Jump Force majorly lacks, that fun factor, that factor of like, we can do all of this. And they just really, they took this aspect that could have been really big. Like this could have done so much. You could do so many things with this. And they just limited themselves. And they could do all this stuff and not have done a story mode. And if they still wanted to do a story mode, one thing I would suggest is have like characters on either side throughout the story mode like die. Now, when I say die, I don't mean like they actually die, because you know these characters are from different series, so maybe they don't necessarily die at this point, or by the end of the show they're not dead or shit like that, because Togoro's dead, but in Jump Force he's alive, he's here. So what I think would be cool is, since they got brought into this world from like their various anime worlds, maybe death means that they get sent back to their anime world and they can't come back. So when you beat, like, let's say you beat Togoro, instead of him dying, he just gets sent back to wherever he got sucked out from. So let's say this Togoro was from the point in time before he gets killed in his final battle with Yusuke in the Dark Tournament. When you beat him in Jump Force, he just gets sent back to that point in time like nothing happened. The same thing could go for your characters. That way you could validate the character death being like, oh, they didn't die, they just went back to their world. I feel like that'd be really neat. But they don't want to necessarily get sent back to their world until this job is done, because if they're not there, Prometheus can do what he needs to, whatever his fucking weird plan was. And that would add a lot more interest to the story, because you'd be like shocked at certain character moments. You're like, oh fuck, now I can't use this character for the rest of the story. But of course they still be available in free battle. Just a thought, just a note, like little things. You could have done a lot with this game. This game has a lot of potential because it's a Shonen Jump weekly crossover fighting game. And I feel like they didn't take advantage of that. They tried to make it like this big epic spectacle, and then they half-assed it. So those are just a few things in my mind that would help the game tremendously, especially where it is now. The game is like over a year old now. We're getting a Season 2 character pass and a Switch port. That game better not be $60, I'm telling you right now. But those things, and I feel like they wouldn't be too hard to like implement. Also, for battle mode, add team super attacks or team ultimate attacks for characters that relate to each other and characters that cross over with each other. Like, let's say Naruto does like the Rasen Shuriken and Yusuke does like a spirit gun. So let's say the Rasen Shuriken hits a target and they go flying, and then as it's exploding, Yusuke shoots the spirit gun to trigger a bigger explosion in the air. Like team attacks and shit like that. That would take more time and more effort and more work, but that effort and work would pay off because it'd be visually pleasing. Continue fixing the graphics and the models. through patches and updates like that, you could really make this game something more relatively worth the price, or more relatively worth the time to put into it. And only time will tell if they'll do stuff like that. These are just my suggestions and my ideas. If you guys have any ideas of how to improve Jump Force, don't hesitate to let me know in the comments of wherever you're listening at, because I think they could really salvage this game and make something better of it. As it is now, however, it is not worth it. I do not recommend it. The only time I would recommend Jump Force is if you already have Xbox Game Pass, because the base game of Jump Force is free on Xbox Game Pass. So you could just download it, try it out, see how you feel about it. I would not recommend buying it. If you were going to buy it, do not buy it for anything more than $25. I used to say $30. I don't even think it's worth that much. Do not buy it for anything more than $25. If you like it, go ahead and get the season passes, I guess, if you want. That's up to you entirely. But do not spend any more than $25 on this game, because if you're disappointed in it, then look at that. You just wasted like $40, $50 on this disappointment. Don't fail like me. I fell into the hype. I don't know why I did. I don't know how I did. I fell into the hype of Jump Force before it came out, and I bought the Ultimate Edition of Jump Force. So I spent $100 on this fucking waste of time, and I am so disappointed. And maybe that's partly why I trash on it so hard, but I always have blamed myself for making that purchase. I've never blamed anyone else. I've never blamed Bandai. I've never blamed Shonen Jump or a friend. No one told me to do that shit. I did that shit on an impulse buy. I don't know why I did it. I regret that decision to this day, which is why I'm letting you all know, do not fail where I failed. So when this game comes out on Switch, do not fucking buy it unless it's dirt cheap, or if you already really like Jump Force and you wanted to buy another console. I guess I can't stop you. But in my personal opinion, Jump Force, I don't want to call it a full F because it has so much potential, but it's like definitely like a D- game. It's not good. So this review ended up being longer than I thought. I'm going to go ahead and end it here any longer, and we're just going to keep rambling. Next week, I don't know what I'm talking about. It should be a much shorter podcast. The only reason why I picked this topic now is because I didn't have a topic set up, so I was like, I might as well finally just talk about Jump Force. If you have any games that you'd like me to review, or games that you've heard me talk about and you want more in-depth perspective of how I feel about the game, let me know in the comments. Same thing with anime, shit like that. I just recently finished Assassination Classroom, so if you wanted to know how I felt about that, short answer, I fucking loved it. I cried a little bit at the end. But if you want more in-depth me talking about Assassination Classroom, let me know, or anything else. And if I haven't played it or watched it, I'll try to play it and watch it and let you know. I'm still currently playing Fire Emblem Three Houses, the Blue Lions Path, so we can do our second part of the Colorful Trails thing, like we did with the Golden Deer. We'll do it with the Blue Lions. But other than that, that's going to be it for this week, guys. Thank you for tuning into this impromptu and long-ass review of Jump Force, the D- anime fighter, still holding the flames of potential. Hopefully we see some improvements in the near future. I don't expect it, but I am hopeful. I always hope for the best, but I'm always prepared for the worst. So I feel like everyone else should be too. But thanks for tuning in this week. Hope you guys have a good Friday. Hope you guys have a good weekend. And I will catch you next week for episode 46. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
O's mad. 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 I pull up in that old jet. Hold fast.